Hi, my name is Lynn Kennedy. I am founder of Business Women Scotland. I would like to welcome you to our very first virtual roadshow. We know we're living in very uncertain times and we're all trying to adapt to the circumstances that we find ourselves in at the moment. So we thought it'd be a great idea to produce a virtual roadshow and invite all our previous guests from our live events. So I hope you can sit back and enjoy and listen at your leisure and also in the comfort of your own home. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person and not actually virtually, and I hope this will happen very soon. But I hope you enjoy this montage and collection of really inspiring and interesting women in business. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to this video on how to embrace working from home and feel empowered. And the reason I'm running this right now is that some of my clients have always worked in an office environment, they've always worked with a team around them, and they were really panicking about how on earth they were going to keep themselves motivated and productive working from home. So I thought, well, let's put this together to help them to get over that hurdle and to find out how to not only get through these challenging times, but to thrive through it, to really embrace working from home and to find that they can be really productive. And I'm convinced that this period of time is really going to change the way we work in the future. It's going to make us really think about needing to travel to places, or can we use this fantastic platform? Well, obviously I'm using Zoom this time, but there's so many great platforms that we can use to connect with each other, to save that traveling time and therefore to save polluting the atmosphere, which we were doing a very good job of before all this kicked off. So what I'm going to be doing today is sharing some of my top tips on how we can work from home effectively. But I'm also going to first of all look at some of the benefits, because there are many benefits and it's important to appreciate those. And I'm going to talk about a few of the challenges that you might be experiencing right now. So recognizing that this is an unusual way of working for a lot of you. If you're watching this and you're used to working from home, then I'm sure there'll be a couple of things that you're not doing that you could do a lot more effectively. So I hope you're going to find some value in this too. So first of all, I'm just going to share my screen with you. So let me just do that right now and share. Fantastic. Okay. And thing when you're sharing your screen is to make sure that you're on the right slide. There's today's first tip. So how to be super productive in your home environment. And I always like to start everything that I'm doing with why. Why are we doing this? Well, obviously it's because of this global pandemic right now. These are totally unprecedented times. None of us have ever lived through this before, and hopefully we'll never live through it again. But, you know, there's a real feeling that the majority of us are really doing our bit for the world, for our community, in slowing down the spread of this virus and in so doing saving lives. So apart from the shock of the lockdown and the isolation, there's also that real feeling of we can do this, we can get through this together. So today I want us to be able to think about how we thrive through these times, not just get through each day, but how we actually develop and grow and evolve through these times. And most of us will have more time than usual. Some of you may be furloughed already. And when all the kind of immediate pressing work on your desk is done, it may be that you have a lot more time. So how can you use that effectively and to your advantage going forward? If, just in case you don't know me, this is just a little bit about me. I tend to work a lot with business leaders, but also with entrepreneurs. And I'm very much about connecting you or enabling you to connect with who you are at your core at a really deep level, fully appreciating the unique value that you bring to the workplace and to life, and recognizing it in such a way that you feel really comfortable sharing that value, not in an arrogant way, but in a very authentic way, so that when you meet people, when you're out on the networking scene, or when you're working with clients, they can really see the value that you offer. And therefore, it makes them easy to recommend you, and it makes it much easier for them to work with you again, because they can see that overarching impact that you have. So let's start with the benefits. And the first obvious benefit is the lack of the commute. Now, you may not have a long commute, but some of the people I was working with last week have a commute of 1.5 hours each way every single day. So that's 3 hours a day. You multiply that up by the 5 working days, and suddenly 15 hours of your time is being given back to you. That is massive. That's the equivalent of 2 full working days. So just think what you can do with 2 extra days a week. Now, I'm not suggesting that you fill your normal working hours and 2 extra days every week. However, with those 2 extra days, you can decide to start at 7, which might be when you normally leave home, and perhaps finish at 3, and then have some time out in the garden, or time with family, or time to devote to learning and growing and going through a course, or exercising. And it's not just about saving time, it's also about the money you save from not traveling, and from the quick coffee you might grab on the way, or the lunch you grab on the run. There's a lot of benefits to actually working from home. Secondly, you can set up an environment at home that is right for you. Now, I appreciate some of you might be living in a flat right now. You might not have much room, particularly if you've got a couple of kids and a partner at home. But it's important to find somewhere in your environment where you can set up your computer and it's your working space. Ideally, if you can leave your computer there and anything else you need for working, so that you don't have to reset it every day. And if you can use the same space every day, then your brain will automatically associate that space with switching into work mode. And obviously it's ideal if you can look out the window, look out in the garden, have plenty of natural light around you. That will boost your energy and your inspiration. Another great benefit of not being in an office environment is the reduction in interruptions. If you think of the number of times you are interrupted by colleagues asking your opinion, asking if you've received an email or if you've sent an email, reminding you about a meeting coming up, asking you to look over an email they've done, constant interruptions. And, you know, our brains have never been as tired as they are nowadays, because not only are we constantly interrupted in open plan offices, but also we've got our phone pinging constantly with email notifications, text messages, social media posts. We've got emails coming in on our computers. And so the brain is on from the moment we get up to the moment we get to bed, and it's tired out. So being at home, you can minimize those interruptions from your team. I appreciate that you'll get some interruptions for family if you've got family at home, but they can be managed. So here are some stats for you. Interruptions may cost more than 23 minutes for a worker in an office to get back to where they left off. So even a few seconds, 10-second interruption can take you 23 minutes to get back into deep creative thought. Interruptions as short as 2.8 seconds can cause twice as many mistakes. And people working in cubicles are interrupted 20% more than those who've got their own individual office. So lots of stats there. And the final one I want to share is that open plan offices have been found to reduce productivity by as much as 40%. So enjoy having an environment at home where you can minimize those interruptions. And I'll come on to some ways you can do that with family shortly. And then, of course, we can walk out in the fresh air. And haven't we been blessed since we went into lockdown with pretty good weather for this time of year? And just walking out of your door into your garden, or having a walk around the block if you live in an apartment or haven't got a garden, getting fresh air is so good for us on all levels. It gets us away from the computer and the blue screens that we're in front of all day, the blue light. It gets us, gets our brain away from all that stimuli that we've got around our desk and our phone. And it just helps us to breathe deeply, to breathe in that fresh air. And it feels good to be alive, particularly right now with all the spring flowers in bloom. So make sure you're getting outdoors as often as you possibly can. If you live in an apartment and you've got a balcony, get out on your balcony or open the windows and take in some deep breaths. So all in all, you're able to achieve better work-life balance because you decide what you're doing when, you manage your start and finishing times, and you can build in your leisure time, your family time around your working life. And then, of course, you can continually learn and grow at home. And I think it's really important to build learning into our schedules so that we've got dedicated time where we're listening to webinars, podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever medium you choose, but you're actually evolving and growing whilst you're in isolation so that when you come back to the workplace, you've got more value to offer. So that's some of the many benefits. I know there's a lot more, but I just wanted to come on to now some of the challenges. And if you're used to working in a team and in an office environment, one of the biggest challenges is isolation. Particularly if you live on your own, you'll really be missing the buzz of other people around you. You'll be missing the chat, the jokes, the inspiration you get from other people when you're perhaps feeling a bit low. And that can feel incredibly isolating. And particularly right now when we can't get out to the gym, we can't go out for a meal, it can be compounded. So it's really important that we carry on some form of social interaction, and I'll be coming on to that in my top tips. Also, if you're used to working in a team, you'll be used to the camaraderie, the in-jokes, you'll be used to having fun, brainstorming together, sharing ideas, asking for advice in the moment, and you'll really miss that sense of all working together. And again, that can be brought into your working routine in various different ways, and I'll touch on that in my tips. I love this quote by Zig Ziglar: lack of direction, not lack of time is the problem. We all have 24-hour days. And working from home can be challenging in that you're literally getting out of bed, sitting down at your computer, and it's too easy to then trawl through the emails, spend some time answering them, then trawl through all your social media posts and add some comments, and then have a look at the news, see what's happening. And before you know it, lunchtime is looming and you've actually achieved nothing. So you've probably all heard of this: failing to plan is planning to fail. I'm a great believer in planning effectively. So I will be sharing a planning template that I'm very happy to send to you afterwards. And of course, if you've got a partner and children at home, then there are inevitable distractions and interruptions. If you think about it, young children particularly, when you're at home, it's usually because you're on holiday or it's weekends, and that means fun, it means going out, it means spending quality time with them. So they're going to be really confused that now you're at home so much, but you haven't got much time for them. So really important to explain what's going on. Children know that this is a really unusual situation. And if we hide it from them, they're only going to make up their own stories. And that can be really scary. So important that we share enough information so they understand the information, but are not really frightened by it. But also that you're really clear on when they can spend time with you and when they can't. Now, if you're working at home with a partner, your husband, your wife, then sit down with them and work out a schedule that works for you both. It may be that one of you works part-time, and it may be that you can split the day between the two of you. So one of you works in the morning and the other one works in the afternoon. And when you're not working, you are the point of contact for the children, and they know if they need anything, then you're the person to come to. If you work alone and your children have got lots of activities, but you've promised to spend some time with them, then really important that they can watch the time and they know exactly when you're going to be free. So a great way of managing this, so they're not constantly asking if you're ready, is to set up an iPad with a timer on that iPad so they can watch the minutes. While they're doing their activities, they can keep checking and going, oh yeah, I've only got half an hour, I've only got 15 minutes, oh, it's 5 minutes. And therefore they can really look forward to that quality time with you. But make sure you stick to the time. Otherwise, they're not going to believe you next time. And then finally, I just want to address the challenge of fear. Do you know, these are really uncertain times. We have never lived through this before. And we don't know when it's going to come to an end or how it's going to come to an end. We don't know how it's going to impact on us personally or how it's going to impact on the people we love and our colleagues and our friends. So it's very understandable, as I said earlier, to be fearful, and it's okay. And it's important to register that we are concerned, that we are fearful, but not to dwell on it. Now, last week I was working with somebody whose husband is a health and safety inspector, and he had the news on constantly because he wanted to be able to react in the moment and share it with his team. So I asked, after our session, I said to her, look, ask him if he's willing to watch it on his laptop with headphones so that you don't have to hear the news constantly 24/7. So he's now done that, and she is feeling so much more upbeat because she's not constantly hearing all the latest figures and all the doom and gloom. So I think it's really important to check in once a day to understand what's going on, what the spread of the virus is, what the latest guidelines are, what new advice on our health and well-being has been given, but then to switch it off and distance ourselves from it. There is nothing to be gained from constantly checking our phones every half an hour, every hour, just to get the latest news. It will only drag us back into the concern and the fear around the situation. And it's really important to keep ourselves upbeat. So let's come on to all the tips I have for helping you to work more effectively. Now, I said that working from home, really important to have a dedicated space. It might be a worktop in your kitchen. It might be your dressing table if you're in a small apartment and there's not much room and you've got family around. It might be a corner of a room where you can just set up a table. But wherever it is, make it conducive to feeling good. Have some of your favorite things around you, not cluttering your desk, but just a nice picture you can look at, a favorite plant next to you. And then for your desk itself, keep it as clear as possible. We apparently look at papers on our desk 15 times each day, a minimum of 15 times each day, which means the brain is registering that you've got a lot of stuff to get to. And that will drain the brain's energy. So only have on your desk the piece of work you're working on right now, your laptop, your pens. I've got flowers and crystals, etc. on my desk, but a minimum of stuff on your desk so that the rest of it is clear and you're not being distracted from what you're working on in the moment. You can get innovative about your workspace, set up a workspace in your garden, or if you've got a balcony, then isn't this fabulous? Little bracket that sits on your balcony that you can put your laptop on and just enjoy the fresh air. And this is where I work. So there's my crystals, my candle, my flowers. I have my big bottle of water. I'm going to be talking about hydration very shortly. And then I'm just looking out on beautiful garden. I'm very, very fortunate. To the right, looking out, I have a tree. I have a couple of bird feeders on the tree. And I love just looking up and watching the squirrels and the birds throughout the day. And it makes me lift my eyes away from the screen at regular intervals, which has got to be a good thing. Then make it fun. You know, when I'm working on anything new, I brainstorm. I've got an A3 pad. I've got a whole box of Sharpies, and I make it fun. I make it colourful. And when we brainstorm, we're making our thoughts visual, and our brain sees in pictures. So doing a mind map like this, or drawing pictures of what we want to achieve, will help the brain to register it much more clearly. And then each of these different spiders' legs that are going out there, I will then do another mind map on that and expand it. So it really helps me to get to grips with creating anything new. My other key piece of kit is my headphones, those orange headphones on the left there, and they completely drown out the noise of my family in the background. If they are being noisy, then I just put some creative music on, and I find that they are essential to working at home. So here is my priority planner. Now you can see at the top, it's a weekly priority planner. So I tend to fill this in on a Sunday, but then on a daily basis, the day before the next day, I will fill this in for the next day. So the urgent box is anything that I absolutely must get done that week or that day. They're not quite as urgent as the urgent. And the pending is anything that I am waiting for more information. So it might be that I need to do some research to find out more information. I might be waiting for some input from a colleague or a client or some information from them. So anything that's pending that I can't take forward right now goes in that box, and I want to record it so that it's out of my head, because if I'm trying to hold all that in my head, it's using up valuable brain space. And let's face it, we all need as much brain space as we can possibly get. My delegate box is anything that I delegate to my virtual team. So that might be to my accountant, my bookkeeper, my PA, or my social media guru. And they are so much better at the work that they do well than I am. So anything that I can delegate to them frees up my valuable time to do what I do best, which means that I'm happy playing to my strengths and they're happy playing to their strengths. We were never born to be jack of all trades. So what do you love doing? Try and spend 80% of your time doing what you do best and delegating as much as possible. Anything that's on my mind that I need to make a decision on will go into that decision box. And again, I want to record it because it's something that I want to think through. I might want to brainstorm it, mind map it. I don't want to lose the thoughts, but I'm not ready to make a decision yet. So it's just capturing it. And then next week, obviously, anything that can wait till next week. I then just like to look at these three categories. What are my major goals this week? And then daily, I usually have 3 major goals I want to work on. What are the projects I need to move forward this week? And what are the tasks and actions, the key tasks and actions I want to get done? Now, I'm very happy to send this to you. Just drop me an email and I'll pop this across to you. Breaks, taking breaks is so important. And when we're working from home, it's all too easy to sit at our desk and be there from morning till night with just a quick break for lunch. And the longer we spend at our desk, the less productive we become because our brain is tired. So there's been lots of research done on this, and what has been found is that the ideal time to work for is 52 minutes. 52 minutes working and 17 minutes break. Now that might not sound enough work time for you, and let me just caveat that by saying if you're working on something really creative and you're writing and it's really flowing, then by all means work on a bit longer, but try not to work beyond 90 minutes because you really will start to deplete the brain's creativity. Also, the brain needs that break just to decombust, to process what you've been doing and to be ready for the next piece of work you're going to focus on. And while 17 minutes might sound an awfully long time, if you think about it, by the time you walk into the kitchen, boil a kettle, make a cup of tea, go to the loo, perhaps talk to your partner or somebody at home, walk out in the fresh air, that's kind of 15 minutes gone already. It's not that long. And the way to monitor this is to set a timer on your phone, which will ping when it's time for your 52 minutes break, and then time to come back to work. And soon, if you do that often enough, you'll just get into the way of working that way, particularly when you see the long-term benefits and the clarity that you have when you come back to your desk. Nutrition is so important when our immune systems are being battered with viruses and all the bugs that go around, and particularly right now with COVID-19. So important that we look after our nutrition as well as possible. And if any of you have ever worked with a nutritionist, they will advise you to eat a rainbow. So this is a really colourful, well-balanced plate with all the different food groups there. And really important to include all these food groups in your daily nutrition plan. The key thing is to prepare in advance. So the night before or the morning, just get together a whole load of crudités, chopped vegetables in your fridge, have a couple of healthy dips to hand so that when you get hungry, you're not instantly reaching for the toast or the sandwich, which will peak your blood sugar, but then plunge it down again very quickly and results in that after dinner slump, after lunch slump. So try and get a really balanced, healthy diet. It will make you feel much brighter, much more alert, much more productive. And you're subconsciously saying, I matter enough to invest in myself. Now, along with nutrition, of course, comes hydration. It might surprise you to know that our brains are 85% water, and most of us are chronically dehydrated most of the time. We do not drink enough water. I'm not talking about tea and coffee here. I'm talking pure water. And the recommended guideline is 2 litres a day. Personally, I find the easiest way is to have a container with a set amount of water in it and to fill it up as necessary through the day. And then I know exactly how much I've been drinking each day. So do whatever works for you, but up your hydration and look at the difference it makes. Just a couple of interesting facts about hydration. When your brain depletes 1% of water, you're likely to have a 5% decrease in cognitive brain function. Things like your attention span, your ability to recall information, your ability to work through complex documents and spreadsheets, etc. They will be substandard if you're dehydrated. Other symptoms of lack of water, fatigue and memory issues. So it's really important to establish a daily routine, particularly right now when we need our immunity to be as strong as possible. So this is my daily routine. I don't expect it to be yours, but I just thought I'd share it, and there might be some ideas there that you could introduce, or you may already be doing a lot of this stuff. So the first thing I do every morning is I listen to a guided meditation. I use headphones, I use my iPhone, and I use Insight Timer, which is a free app. So I really recommend it. It's packed full of incredibly inspiring meditations. It's got podcasts, it's got fantastic music and all different lengths. So if you've only got 5 minutes, there is a 5-minute meditation for you. So really recommend that. And starting the day with meditation helps you to go from that period of rest and sleep into work in a slow transition rather than leaping out of bed and expecting your brain to immediately be switched on and into work mode. Secondly, I write 5 things I'm grateful for in my gratitude diary. Now, you can buy gratitude diaries, but a notebook is absolutely fine. And every single one of us can think of 5 things we're grateful for. It might be that we've got a roof over our head. It might be that we've got family at home with us. It might be that you've got a hot cup of tea that morning, or it might be waking up to beautiful sunshine. Or you might have just gained a new client or just had a wonderful coaching session. There are lots of things we can find in our daily life to be grateful for, and starting the day with an attitude of gratitude puts a really positive perspective on our day. Then I do some journaling. Now, journaling, there's no magic. It's not a dark art. There's no right and wrong. Journaling is simply downloading what's in your brain, or brain dumping your thoughts, as I've written here. And it's a great way of getting that jumble of thoughts into some sort of order. And as you write about them, you very often work out ways in which you can address those thoughts. Or you very often find that actually they're not as bad as you initially thought. Now, sometimes when you're doing this, creative ideas will come into your mind. So it's important to have a piece of paper or another notebook beside your bed so that you can just note down any actions that you want to take forward as a result of journaling. But some days you'll just write. There is no pressure to come up with fresh ideas or creativity. It's all about just sorting out the thoughts in your head and getting them into some sort of order. The key thing here, though, is once you've finished, don't read what you have written, because you are downloading your thoughts. By reading them, you are then uploading them back into your brain and filling your brain up with that jumble of thoughts. So just close the book. If you want to go back in 6 months' time and read about where you were 6 months ago, that's absolutely fine. Fourth thing that I do is a yoga and exercise routine, and this really helps me to feel that I'm valuing my body, and it's a sort of routine that I can do anywhere. So if I'm staying in a hotel for work, I can do this, which means I can fit it in 5 or 6 times a week. So what could you fit in? And if you're not currently doing any kind of exercise, YouTube is full of wonderful exercise and yoga videos. So try some out, find out what works for you, and build in your own routine that you can just do whenever it suits you to keep you feeling fit and healthy. And then finally, every day I prepare freshly squeezed vegetable and fruit juice. Now, my husband's at home at the moment, so I prepare all the fruit and vegetable, and he actually does the juicing. So we're splitting the task and splitting the time. But what it means is that the 4 of us, my 2 daughters are at home as well, we get a big hit of vitamins and minerals right at the start of the day. And I can honestly almost feel my cells saying thank you as that juice goes down into my system. It's such a brilliant way to start the day, and it just makes me feel a bit special. So you can imagine when I've done all that, by the time I sit down at my desk, I'm feeling really vibrant and powered up and energized. Now, as I said, I'm not expecting you to do all of this or even half of it, but is there something there that you could introduce into your daily routine that would strengthen your resilience and your resistance to this virus and keep your immune system as well and healthy as it possibly can be? And then just a word about how you dress at home. If you just fall out of bed, open up your laptop and sit there and work away, there is no demarcation between leisure and work. The fact that you're in your gear that you sleep in or relax in, the brain is still in relaxation mode. Quite important to have a demarcation between leisure and work. So get dressed, not being suited and booted, but wearing something that you feel a bit professional in, that you'd be quite happy to come on a Zoom call, for example, and be seen. So just a favorite jumper. If you like jeans and a smart shirt, absolutely fine, but at least you feel that you've dressed for work, you're in work mode. And then I mentioned earlier the problem of isolation. So really important to stay in touch, and it's never been easier to keep that connectivity going than it is right now through Zoom calls and webinars and videos like I'm doing right now. And I know a lot of my clients are having regular Zoom calls, in fact, every day with their teams. And they're discussing what their key priorities are. They're discussing who's working on what their challenges are, what their deadlines are they're aiming to meet. And they're brainstorming any new ideas that they're looking at. So it's really giving them that community feel, that chance to bounce ideas off each other and to inspire and motivate each other. I think it's also important to have an accountability buddy. So someone that knows you really well, it might be somebody you work with, might be somebody who works in another organization, but really understands your working life and your challenges. And to have an accountability call every day. So you discuss what each of you are working on. You commit to certain actions in that day, things that you're going to do and achieve. And then you have an accountability call at the end of the day or the next morning to report back on what you achieved. There is nothing like having an accountability call looming to make you hit those deadlines. And it just gives you somebody to share your working day with. Now, our connectivity doesn't just need to be with colleagues. I know that we've been having Zoom calls with family and with friends. We've been having a cocktail hour at weekends. So make it fun. As I say, it's never been easier to stay in touch. So use the connectivity we have to make sure you're not feeling lonely and you're not feeling isolated. And also, it's a great time to get in touch with people that you've lost touch with. And a lot of your clients now will probably be quite glad to hear from you because they're feeling a little bit isolated too. So use this time to get back in touch. And then I mentioned earlier about learning and growing. TED Talks are a wonderful way to learn from experts, and they are really inspiring. So to keep yourself upbeat, motivated, and inspired, watch a TED Talk 2-3 times a week, and you will learn from it. Or go on to a webinar, online course, and keep learning, keep growing, so that when you come back to the workplace, you've got new knowledge to share with your clients and your colleagues. Or work with a coach, work with a coach or a mentor, somebody that can dig deep with you, that can question you on what you're doing, where you're going, why you do what you do, where you want to go in the future. You might be feeling that you want to step up in your career, you might want to step sideways, or you might want a completely different direction. And a coach will be able to help you to look at where you are now, look at your particular skill set, and plan how you're going to transition into a new role in the future. What a great time to invest in you and your future growth. And then finally, engagement. Really important to keep everybody engaged. Really important to keep everybody engaged. I'm sorry about the background noise. And appreciation is one of the biggest drivers of engagement. So say thank you more often. Make sure you recognize a job well done and a goal achieved. Celebrate weekly wins. Give clear directions. Check in daily. And share your vision. So on those calls, make them upbeat, recognize people that have achieved their goals. And you're not having the high five you normally get in an office, so have the virtual high five. A lot of people are worried about the future, where the business is going to be, whether they've got a job. So share your future vision as well, so that people feel more at ease with where they're going to be going forward. So I mentioned some special offers. These are just for this period of time. I know that a lot of people are not very comfortable about spending money at this moment in time. So I've slashed all the prices on my offers, and here they are right now. And you can see more details on my website, which is sylviabaldock.com. The Becoming More Significant is a deep dive into you, connecting you with who you are at your core, helping you to build more confidence, more self-esteem, to really recognize the unique value you have to offer and being able to share that in a very authentic way. I'll also be looking at your values, your vision for the future, a business plan for the future, and then how you're networking and how you present yourself in a networking or speaking arena. So lots of different aspects to that. The Power Hour is literally an hour to review, revitalize, recharge, look at where you are, where you want to go to, and some actions to take. And then the masterclasses for groups and teams on various different subjects, which you'll see on my website. Then I just wanted to say, your thoughts become your actions. If you tell yourself you can't work from home, then your brain will believe it and it will say, okay, I'll make sure you're not very productive. So in summary, embrace the many benefits of working from home. Savor the connectivity we have with colleagues, clients, and prospects. Stay positive and resilient by investing in your greatest asset, which of course is you. And I have a lot more thoughts and all the top tips I've shared with you in my April newsletter. If you'd like that, please just email me. It's sylvia@sylviabaldock.com. I just want to finish with sharing a few thoughts that I gathered when I was putting this together. Remember, we are part of history in the making, and in years to come, Children will learn about how we survived and thrived through these challenging times. You can go through it in fear and negativity. You can complain about the things you can't do, the people you can't see, or the material things you can't buy. And in so doing, not only drain your own energy, but also the energy of everyone you talk to. Stress depletes our immune system, and God knows we need our immune systems to be as strong as they possibly can right now. So, in conclusion, start the day with gratitude for another day to live your life, to create and communicate, and to evolve and grow. We are being stretched in a way we have never been stretched before. We are tapping into hidden strengths we didn't know we possessed, and we will come out stronger and wiser as a result. One final quote from Oprah: "Be thankful for what you have. You'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough." So I wish you well, stay safe, take care, and my very best wishes for your future success.
Hi all. Firstly, I hope you're super well, super healthy, and that everyone that you know and love are super well and super healthy. I'm Kirsty Mack. I'm a coach, I'm a speaker. I've done a couple of gigs for BWS, and I'm super delighted that they've asked me to do a little video for you guys as part of your internal roadshow, and to kind of talk about what's happening in the world just now. Who knows, really? Who knows? I'm going to talk a little bit about what's happening in our brain. I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe some coping mechanisms, some strategies that we can put into place. Certainly ones that have definitely helped me and some of my clients as we've gone through, and really thinking about what does this mean for us? What opportunity does this give us? And I'm recording this as we just move into week 3 in lockdown. And we've been through all of the emotions. I don't know about you guys, but I've been through multitude of emotions. Really privileged in where I am and where I live and what I do. Equally, everyone is having crazy experiences. The first week I decided it would be a great idea to scroll through Twitter like it was going out of fashion. That didn't help so well, and really noticed the energy. I ricocheted from Zoom call to team call to FaceTime to Hooler to Skype to phone call. Now, I'm an extrovert. I realised through this whole experience I'm an extrovert in my own terms, actually. And I was exhausted. In that very first week, was exhausted by the amount of calls and meetings that I was part of. So I've been more disciplined, as I tell my clients, right? I've been more disciplined about my timeframes and how many calls I'm doing and actually who I'm doing those calls with. I'm here to help, and so it's really prioritising my clients and ensuring I'm working with them and helping them to get through this, and also checking in on my tribe and checking in with my giant toddlers, aka my parents, and making sure that they're A-okay, and making sure my boyfriend runs a company now from home. I now know he's very loud, unbelievably so, and the only way that he can make that noise on a keyboard is surely hitting it with his keyboard. I don't know any other way. Why he uses a phone and he doesn't just hang out in the balcony, I do not know. That aside, but I'm here to make sure that he's okay and that he's keeping his business afloat as well. And so we go into week 3. First week was adrenaline, right? It was full on adrenaline. And it was novel, it was different, it was new. None of us would have wanted it to be that way, but it was different, it was new. The second week was, I've been speaking to a lot of my clients, it felt like a bit of a come down for them. They were like, whew, okay, so the brain started going, okay, so this is how we do things now. And then possibly we'll have different emotions as we go into week 3. And I keep using this story and I don't know where it came from. So if you do know where it came from, please do let me know. I think it was from my coach actually. And she was at an event and she was seeing, I'm sure it was an Irish comedian, that aside, but this Irish comedian's grandmother, always starts with the grandmother, her grandmother's role back in whatever time it was to hand out light bulbs. Hand out light bulbs to the crofts, to the small houses in Ireland. And so she would go and she would present them with light bulbs and found out that people didn't like them. They really hated them. And as they probed a little bit further to find out why people didn't like them, it was because they were showing how dirty their crofts were. And I feel that this time there's been just a giant light bulb thrown out to shine a light on the things that are working and the things that aren't working. A lot of my clients are in the financial banks, financial wealth, and I'm really fascinated by the conversations that are having, that they are less tolerant of some things than they were before. And not because it's a quick temper or anything like that. It was actually, this is just brought into their face. Do you know what? I should have had this conversation before. And so for you guys, and we're all going to be in different experiences, for those that are homeschooling at this time, I send you a medal. I send you so much love and so much energy. I can't organise a boyfriend, so God knows how you're managing to do this with children. What is this shining a light on for you? And I think it's a good opportunity for us to see what is working and what isn't working. Even if you look at it from, I was reading a book called Work From Wherever. I got it just before this, and by Lisa Messenger. And it was by the London School of Business. And it was some statistics that said, in fact, I have written it down. Global Leadership Summit. 34% of directors said that more than half, and a further 25% said more than 3/4 of their company's full-time workforce would be working remotely by 2020. And so here we are finding ourselves in different spaces. Now, it's really interesting for me because I've always worked from home. Now that I've not got, for my last 15 years, I haven't had a proper job. So I've worked from home. Now I've got someone in my office, which is just rude. And so give yourself permission to pause and to think about, what is this shining a light on for you? This is a massive opportunity for us to possibly reprioritize, for us to set some agreements. So let's talk about what's happening inside of your head. Super simplistically, there's just, I think sort of 3 weeks ago or whatever, and how weird does time feel right now? Let's say 3 weeks, or in dog years, 750 billion years. It was as if a big switch came down from above. And we all switched into our limbic system, to the amygdala, which is the emotional part of our brain. And it's the fight, flight, or freeze. That's why we saw people hoarding loads and loads of food. That's why we saw people buying the most ridiculous amount of toilet papers. That's why we saw fear. We saw people shut down their business. We saw a huge amount of things happening very, very quickly. It was like one big button just went 7.2 billion people straight into amygdala. Now that's going to still be there. Some of us are still in that functioning, and some of us are oscillating. I know I've oscillated even myself. What's really important for that part of our brain is safety and security. What's happening is, before, what was safe isn't. Even just our commute to work or whatever it might be, or the way we did business. I am used to having a ridiculous, I work from home, but really I work from an airport or a train. I never have an empty diary. And a lot of fear came up for me when I saw cancellation after cancellation after cancellation. It was heartbreaking to hear that what I did was non-essential. Now, my personality type took that on as, you're non-essential as a human, which just set me into a full-on emotional turmoil. I kind of mulled in it for a little bit of time, but really what is happening to the brain there is, it needs safety, it needs security, It needs to feel in control. And so as we transition through this and as we come through this, it is an opportunity for us to put in, I know everyone's been talking, there's all this stuff on YouTube about, being really productive and things like that. This might not be a time for you to be productive. That is okay. We will all go through this differently. It is a time for you to put some rituals in place and some disciplines in place. And you're like, Kirsty, I have about, I'm having to homeschool and things like that. There can be little things that you can do. And to give yourself safety, to give yourself a feeling of control, for you to know that sometimes that's not always going to be there. There are going to be times as we oscillate through this that we can't make a decision. We can't take an action. We just have to eat the Terry's chocolate orange that for some reason have made it into my basket when I've gone shopping. Maybe that's just what we need to do just now. And I think what's really important is that we cut ourselves some slack. As females, we need to feel good to do good. It's an opposite thing for guys. They need to do good to feel good. So it's really important for us, even in our rituals and our disciplines, for us to think about how are we feeling. Billy's come through and said, Kirsty, why are you wearing that dress? He's like, where are you going? I was like, I'm wearing this dress because I feel great. I'll be making sure that I've got my favourite dress or my shoes on, or I've put on my makeup. We have to feel good in order for us to do good. So still put yourself in that position and cut yourself some slack. You might not be able to make a decision or an action, and that's okay. This might not be a time to write your book or anything. That's okay. This is an opportunity maybe for you to spend time with your children, for you to think about different ways and for you to pause. And again, if you've got so much going on, how do you pause? Now it'd be great. Yeah, let's take up meditation, Kirsty. Well, yeah, okay, you could do. But even, I think it's Osho that says, rest is awareness. Even just by saying those words to yourself, I feel myself come out of my head and go into my body. Rest is awareness. Pause as you go from room to room, just that threshold. Pause. Even you don't have to count to 10, even just count to 1, because that might be all you can do right now. Every threshold, pause, 1, and then move into that space. You walking into the kitchen, pause, 1, and then move into that space. It's not sitting cross-legged for 25, 30 minutes, 3 times a day. It's pause, 1. That's okay. And we need to get into some way of doing that so that we need to be strong. We need to be, strong for ourselves, but the economy is going to need strength from business people as it comes out of this. The economy is going to be needing people. The feminine energy is so important right now, because the feminine energy, and I don't just mean sort of gender specific, the feminine energy says, we've got this. We have got this, and it's going to be okay. And so this is an opportunity for us to be strong, for us to be self-full, for us to think about what can we do, what is in our control to do. Is it something that we can pivot in our business even super quickly, or can we even just get to the point of being curious? Now, it's incredibly important that we have the right people around us. Shine a light on the people around us. I found it fascinating. I've really been very disciplined about the people that I speak to this week, and I've noticed it lifts my energy. Because of the industry I'm in and that non-essential nature, I had experiences with people who had folded their business in that very, very first week. And I need to be thinking about who I'm serving, and am I serving myself, to think about the people that I'm working with and having conversations with. And so one of my favourite quotes is, a problem only ever exists in the absence of the right conversation, by the beautiful and wonderful Werner Erhard. Let me say it again. A problem only ever exists in the absence of the right conversation. Now, okay, there's a heck of a freaking problem out there, Kirsty, and that's not a fucking conversation. Shouldn't swear. But actually, there might be some people that what resources are available to you. I talk about archetypes, talk about this a lot. So you'll see this from Carl Jung, Margaret Wheatley would speak about this, and having the right people at your table. At this point in time, as a businesswoman, you need a kick-ass virtual board. You need to think about who surrounds you. And I talk about 4 different archetypes. 1, the king or the queen. The king or the queen, usually in a work context, would be a boss or a mentor. So I have a mentor that sits in that sort of role, and I talk about them as if they're in front of you. They're the person that gives you reward, recognition, boundedness, gives you the vision, gives you clarity. The world is needing that archetype right now. And so you need to make sure that you've got someone in that position. Really interesting, my coach wouldn't necessarily play that, but I had a conversation with her on Friday, and she went straight into that. She gave me a vision for the next 3 weeks. She said, things are fuzzy for you right now, Kirsty. You need to go to this. And I'm like, boom, I got it. I know where I'm going. So who sits in that space for you? You need the warrior. You need the one, when you've had a chat with a warrior, because you feel like you've been plugged into the mains and you're like, there's like so much energy, it's huge. But they are the person that's like, come on, you can do this, we'll support you, we're there. Yes, there's a support, but it's like, come on, take a risk, do this. Maybe this is the thing that you wanted to do before, and maybe this is an opportunity to do it now. Then there's the lovers, their friends, maybe peers or colleagues, and they're gentle, they're kind. They're a little bit fun. They bring the fun into it. And please ensure you're laughing as you go through this. There is an opportunity for us to feel the lightness, and that's incredibly important. So that's our king or queen, our lover or our friend, and our warriors. And then the wizard. The wizard is someone that is magical. They think differently. There's a bit of wisdom about them. That's where my coach would normally sit. I've got 2 coaches. There's one in particular that sits there. Gets me to see the bigger picture, gets me to understand things in a different perspective. I need to have a coach in order for me to fulfill my coaching duties to my clients as well. And I find that I pass things on if I'm working with them. They're a little bit different, and you could get this from a book or a podcast or something that you're tapping into that just kind of gets your head out of your problem and gets you going, oh, okay, this is different. And so I want you to think about who's in your virtual board. Get those right people around you. I've noticed, even in the last couple of weeks, I've got a different boardroom. I've got a different group of people that are sitting around me. I've swapped some people out, and there's some people that have just brought their own chair and they're like, hey, here we are, let's do the thing. And it's so important because it gives you energy. Now, I do a lot of the sort of wizard energy and warrior energy for my clients. So I need to make sure that I've got a couple more warriors and a couple more wizards that are doing that for me. So I need to make sure that I've got this energy as we go through. And so it's incredibly important for us to bubble that, hold that as sacred, hold that as a space where you can tap into those people and that you can get that energy from them. We're going to need people with strength on the back of this. We're going to need businesses with strength on the back of this. And you have that strength. And you have that strength that's going to enable you to think about how you can do this. Speak to the right people. Think about what you're filling your diary with, and it depends on where you are. You might be working for yourself, you might be working with different people. It's just be a little bit more clinical with your diary. One of my pet hates is when people go, I've put a little time in your diary. No, you haven't. You've taken time out of my diary. You have not put time in my diary. And I'm hearing a lot of my clients, people are saying, oh, I saw you had half an hour free, so I put in a half-hour meeting. I didn't have it free. That might have been the only time I could have gone to the toilet, was one of my clients. Or it was time. You need to think about making sure that you are delineating your time and that you're putting it in a way that really, really works for you. And depending on the business that you're doing, what you'll find when there is a lot of change happening in the world, when there is a massive shift in transition, this is a time for people to start something new. And so if you are in a business that you might want to market to new people, you might want to market to different people. And you know what, I personally had a block in marketing and selling because it was just felt wrong to me. And that's personally what I was struggling with. But actually, as I thought about it, if I'm saying, to people that, if I'm saying I'm not going to do that, I'm saying to people that you don't have money and they're going to get scared. And so actually it's about giving the right thing and helping people. That's what I'm in the business of doing. And so you will be too. But maybe you're marketing to different people now. For example, I was reading about a guy who's a branding guru, and what he realised is that men would try Grecian 2000 when they're on a cruise. We'll not talk about cruises just now, but when they're on a cruise, because they could just say there was something in the water when they were away. So they were doing something different, and they would try something different. And so is there something to do with your business, or could you market to different people? Could you bring other people on board to help you as you go through this transition? And it is about doing the undoable. It is about, getting your finances. I've been sitting and, I am not a fan of spreadsheets, but I am there and I'm looking at the spreadsheets. I'm cutting things through. I'm spending money just now because I know it's going to benefit me going forward. And so really thinking about, could you be pivoting slightly? And I don't mean you have to do something wildly different. It could be that you're marketing your services to different people, or your service kind of changes just ever so slightly, and fix the pain that is happening there for people just now, and position yourself in a way that is there to help. Because we can help. We can all be in a position to help someone in some way. And really look after your mental health. That whole thing about the amygdala. Really think about what gives you safety, what gives you control. Having those people around you is going to be incredibly important. One of the greatest monitors of mental health is the lack of creativity and spontaneity. So if you're finding it hard to be creative or spontaneous, it's perhaps because you're operating from the wrong part of your brain. Understandably, because of the situation that we're in, it's thinking about how can you get the system to run, or the right system to run for you. So think safety, think security, think about and be curious about what could work for you right now. Are you speaking to the right people? Are you finding yourself, I'm out of breath, I'm so excited. Are you speaking to the people that are the mood hoovers, or the fun sponges? This is not a time to be hanging around with emotional vampires, people. Think about the people that you can spend time with. Build up your energy. Do good things for yourself. I've never had so many face packs in my life. And just be kind. Be kind to people. First and foremost, be kind to yourself. I have loved the relational elements that are coming through just now. Ugly crying on my balcony on Thursday at 8 o'clock. Saying thank you to an Asda delivery driver. Just saying thank you to all the delivery drivers. It wasn't delivering to me. He cried, I cried. We're in an opportunity of gratitude right now. And, we've all, I've got my gratitude journal, or this is real gratitude. Shine a light on the things that are working well for you. Notice your tolerance levels for things that aren't, and perhaps is an opportunity to change that. I don't mean you have to learn a new skill or write a book or invent something different. It could be a little shift that could actually make a massive difference in your business. I wish you all the love and the luck in the world. If I can do anything for you, please do get in touch. If you have any questions in the back of this rant, 22 minutes I've been talking for, and I'm exhausted. But if there is anything I can help with on the back of this, please do get in touch. Look after yourselves, and remember, we need people who are really strong. The economy is going to need people that are really strong on the back of this, and I think that's you. Look after yourself and take care.
Business Women Scotland's adapting to the coronavirus, and we are now bringing a virtual roadshow to people who can watch chats and interviews at home. So today I would like to invite Michelle Ferguson, from Director at Scotland's Bravest, Yvonne Greaves from Head of Women in Business Banking, and June Walker, who's Executive Coach and Mentor and Board Advisor. So welcome, ladies, and thank you very much for coming on board with our BWS Virtual Roadshow. I know it's all a baptism of fire for all of us, because this is new technology for me, working from home and trying to organise Zoom calls and Zoom meetings. So thank you. So good to just start off with just an introduction. You can give a bit about yourselves in just a couple of minutes, just to say to the audience that are watching this from home. So, Michelle, do you want to go first?
Yep, I'm Michelle Ferguson. I'm Director of Scotland's biggest manufacturing company. We're a manufacturing facility which started 2 years ago in the Erskine Hospital estate. We manufacture infrastructure road signs, do specialist cutting for major and global businesses, and we produce specialist print materials as well. We do that by disabled veterans and others with disabilities and people who need additional support. We've grown from our first year, 75,000, and this year we will be heading for just over £700,000, which would possibly have been slightly more if it hadn't been for the COVID.
Great. Yvonne, would you like to go next?
Hi, my name's Yvonne Greaves. I head up Women in Business for the RBS Group, and I'm responsible for all our frontline strategy to support more females to set up, to scale in business, and it's all around financial education, business growth, and we had lots of events, but that's been kind of curtailed, so we're looking to pivot to very much what we're doing today, a lot more of this, and yeah, it's interesting times. But I'm spending a lot of time at the moment speaking to lots of females and organisations and seeing how they're adapting and what we can do to support them through this.
June, over to you.
Hi, I'm June Walker. As Lynn had said in her introduction, I'm a business advisor, non-exec director. I'm a coach and mentor for senior executives as well. My background, for the past 25 years, I've built and led predominantly businesses within the financial sector, and helped building and leading successful business development and customer care teams.
Great. So, ladies, we've all discussed how our businesses and how we're changing our working day. I assume one of the things that you were using before, or is this due now to coronavirus and everyone's now self-isolating and working from home?
This is hugely different from me, and what the people don't know is I was the one that had technical problems earlier trying to join this call. Yeah, most of my coaching, mentoring, support has been very much face-to-face in the business environment. So yes, having to adapt and use technology, it's certainly been new for me. But I do think that a lot of the skills that I've learned from it will probably be applied to my sort of future business strategy.
Great.
So, for me, it's actually not too different, but it's fantastic because it kind of, I don't need to hide now and pretend that I'm not really working from home, because I used to travel a lot, a couple of days a week, and every time that I wasn't traveling, I would work from home to try and have that work-life balance. And what I've now found is we've been using Zoom as a team for a long time now because we're spread across the whole country, and we've found it a great way just to keep in touch. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it now, because now it's okay if one of my children do walk through the kitchen and make a cup of tea, or not that they drink tea, mind you, get a glass of water. You're not having to pretend that you're not working from home now, so I'm actually really enjoying it.
Good. Michelle, be the same for you.
Yeah, this is a first for me. I have used sort of online platforms for communicating, but it tends to be with my family. So I've got family in Australia and the rest of the UK. So we kind of use sort of Facebook communicating, but for business, this is an absolute first. So we're using Zoom for this, and we use LoopUp for sharing documents. And we can all be on the phone talking about the documents so we can see it. So we don't actually see each other, but we can all talk at the same time, and we can review sort of any information that we have to share, rather than trying to print out, because we're trying, again, we're trying to be very circular, save paper. So that's been really good. So LoopUp's been great, as is Zoom for our team, because keeping in contact with them during this has been imperative.
So a recent report viewed that coronavirus has more of an impact on female-driven businesses. Would you agree with this? Or have you heard or read of any information?
I've read a couple of reports on it, but I just don't know is the honest answer. The women that I'm speaking to, yeah, there is some impact. I just don't 100% know if there's anything specific to females here. I think we're all in a terrible situation at the moment, and all businesses are horrifically impacted by what's going on. So I have seen some reports on it, but I'm just not 100% sure at this stage. I guess time will tell later on. I'm speaking to a lot of women, and they're saying it's actually quite good. And I've been speaking to my husband, and he's been a lot of his colleagues. I've never worked from home, and they're finding they're actually just sharing the workload now at home more, because they're able to be at home and everybody's just kind of mucking in and getting through it as best they can.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys.
Yeah, I agree with Yvonne. I don't think that you know, you can actually sort of say that female businesses have been impacted more than male-led businesses. I think, you know, it's something that we're all having to adapt to. It's certainly something that none of us thought would happen in our lifetime. But it's, you know, sentiment to you know, and praise to a lot of the businesses that have really adapted and done it quickly. When you think that, you know, a couple of weeks ago was when we were told stay at home, and I think it's really positive to see so many businesses being able to think outside the box and adapt quickly to this new environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we're all self-isolating, do you think in the future this will change how employers view employees working from home?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there'll be a lot more openness to people working from home. I think we have to be very careful of it, because we have to ensure that, you know, sort of people are mentally resilient enough to cope with that. I think the assumption would be that, you know, sort of more and more of us can do it, but we need to get back together. Self-isolation is going to cause problems for people going back, and we're doing our planning on that. You know, what does it all look like, and what support will people need when that happens? So my worry would be that we all think, yeah, this is great, working from home is a great solution, we have to be more careful, we will be thinking differently about connecting. But I do think we have to make sure if it does happen that we look after our teams, you know, that we continually connect with them, we reach out to them and don't leave them, you know, sort of coming out of this at the other side and just assume that it's going to be a good thing for them. We might need to bring them back in, you know, do things in a different way.
Yeah, but build more the community aspect as well, because people work better in a community, whether that's, well, yeah. I think obviously there's different conversations that take place when you're actually all together in one room and having a meeting as opposed to Zoom. This is a needs situation at the moment.
I think also, you know, we've got to be mindful that not everybody can conduct their job remotely, you know, so I think that whilst employers will be a little bit more sympathetic to, you know, jobs that can be done from home, then that's great. But I do think that the biggest majority of the workforce will want to get back to some sort of normality as soon as possible.
I think maybe for childcare issues, maybe employers will look at it in a different way, that maybe will help women from that point of view, that maybe they've said before that it's a job that they can't work from home, but they've actually proven they can. And
I also think it will really help with the carbon footprint, because people will realise you can actually conduct quite great conversations and meetings over this kind of format, rather than always having to travel however many hundreds of miles to get to it. And I think that's going to be a really great outcome.
Absolutely. I think we all have to start thinking that way, and we will all be thinking, you know, sort of the difference that we've made to, you know, sort of the carbon footprint already by people not flying, taking their cars, you know, it's been, but I think we have to start looking at big picture for all of it.
A serious hit. How will this impact your customers? I suppose straight away that's a question for you, Yvonne, with your customers. Have you had a lot of horror stories from this? I presume you will have.
It's pretty hard out there at the moment for our customers, and we're trying to support them as best we can with obviously the CBILS loans, the business interruption loans, and we've got a whole package of support on our website that we're trying to package around our customers and just be supportive as possibly can. Loan breaks, mortgage breaks, just everything we can do, and our frontline staff are never worked harder, just out there supporting as much as we can. But it's across the board, it's across everywhere. I don't know anybody that's not impacted in some way financially with what's going on at the moment, and it's just really, really sad. But yeah, I'm speaking to a lot of, on the phone most of the day, just speaking to females within my network and saying, how are things? Is there anything I can do to support you? At this time, it's hard, it's really hard out there.
I think it's also keeping in touch with some customers and just keeping in touch with people in general, because everyone knows we're not alone in this, but it's actually just to be able to talk to other people that are struggling. I think it just helps take the burden away, that you just think, well, everyone else is going through it together. So I think that's a good thing. It's definitely building a community spirit.
I think also sort of telling people and, you know, making sure that they are aware of all the financial help and support that is actually out there. But for most businesses, I think it's giving them the advice to, you know, sort of be looking ahead and act quickly. You know, there is opportunity here for using furlough for some of the employees. As Yvonne's saying, there's various loans and grants and support there. I think it's a case of just urging the businesses to actually look and you know, make use, if they can, of all the tools that are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the questions I thought was quite interesting was, what steps can you give to mitigate the risks to businesses born out of coronavirus?
I've been giving this quite a lot of thought recently, and it's something I'm going to look at developing it later on in the years and into next year. And we do a lot around financial education, and I think there's an element here that there's something around reserves as well, and about business reserves, and building up some more resilient, although you can never anticipate what was actually going to happen with what has actually happened and how severe it's been across the board. But there's something around sort of me personally having more financially personal reserves as well as businesses as well. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I've really been looking at it, you know, sort of in the last couple of weeks. Obviously, I'd come back from holiday, been away, and came back to full-on coronavirus. What we've been looking at is prepare, invest, take care. And research, and really investing in that, you know, sort of looking at what we should be doing. Research is going to be our biggest tool, because what are we going to need at the end of this? What is it going to take the economy to get back on track? And from a business perspective, what do we need to do? So that's looking at, you know, sort of who's going to be out of this first, which is China and Germany. So what are they doing? You know, sort of what, from a manufacturing perspective, from a development perspective, what are the industries doing, so that we can take the learnings from that and take those shoots and bring them into our economy and our business.
Yeah, I think obviously there's the sort of a, you know, the financial aspect of it, and if you can build reserves, but I think for a lot of people it's about, I would say to them, trust your judgment. You're steering a business through incredulous times, and you know, I can understand people sort of a second guessing themselves, but the senior people within the businesses know their businesses better than anybody else, and you know, sometimes it's a case of, you know, go with your gut feel. Don't be afraid of that. but also if you have some people that you trust and good supported advisors round about you, make use of them. You know, start asking people questions and you know, and seek that support. But you know, businesses that can survive this are going to, you know, be well placed to come through any hardship.
Well, we had a kind of run at it in 2008 after the first Great Recession, and the number of businesses crushed then. So I think it's probably looking back at 2008 and how other businesses survived and navigated themselves through the turbulent times. And that's what I was saying earlier when we were off camera recording this, that I'd taken the opportunity to start Business Women Scotland in 2008 because there was nothing for women in business, and more people were made redundant and had redundancy money looking to set up businesses. And that was really the kind of starting point for me taking the opportunity to set something up in a recession. And I think at this moment in time, I think we've got to look at opportunities as opposed to maybe what we've lost going forward, and trying to kind of have a more positive spin on it.
I was heading up St School's TV's advertising and sponsorship, so I was in charge of the UK, and we went bust in 2008. And everybody around me was saying, oh, we need to time out, it's been so tough, because it had been a horrendous 6 months working through that, because we knew that we were heading to administration. We were all working to try and make sure we're in a place that if we could get sold, we were in a good place. Whereas I thought, you know, taking time out is the wrong time. I need to decide where I want to go and what I want to do. And I was talking to ESPN and Sky about jobs, and I sat in a conference call and thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be travelling up and down to London every week. I don't want to be working in advertising. I want to do something completely different. I spoke to a few people and said I want to go into a third sector, and everyone was like, you don't have the skills, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the money. And luckily, I didn't believe them. I thought, this is what I want to do, and I completely changed what I did, and initially just worked for a charity, but as a director, and loved it and have never looked back. So I think you can come to a stage like this and just reassess everything, and you can, you know, turn your life around. Positives can come out of real bad things, definitely.
I think so too.
I think you're right. I think you're right, Lynn. I think, you know, be aware of and be mindful and looking out for opportunities, because opportunities will present themselves after we come out of this.
I think it gives everyone time to assess what they're actually doing. As you said, Michelle, whether it's you like doing what you do, I think you've got more time to think about it, and you're going to create opportunities for yourself, because there's going to be some businesses that don't survive this, and they're going to have to think about other ways of how they're going to make a living. So it's turning a negative really into a positive at some point. It's just how you get through the next 2-3 months in terms of financially for a lot of people out there. So Michelle, what clear steps are you taking to position your business to succeed in turbulent times?
Oh, it's been really challenging. We made the decision, because of the people that we support, close the factory. So we are now closed. It would have been very easy to further everybody, including myself, because that would have taken right the way down. At the moment, we've managed to keep 4 key members of our team. And what we're looking at is, what does the other side look like? We're looking at an entrepreneurial fund that's been put out. It's in the UK, and it's for £20 million. So they're looking for things that are going to mitigate what's happening now, or issues that we will come out of it. So we're looking at funding for that, and what we could do as an organisation, and what that goes back to looking at research in Germany and China, what they're doing at the moment, because they're a bit ahead of us. We're looking at putting things in mental health resilience for our team, getting through now, but also when they come out the other side. speaking to our clients on a regular basis. We've been very lucky. We had considered the order book, and we went to all of our clients and said, look, what do you need now? And what can wait until the other side now? Because a lot of our business is infrastructure. All major infrastructure projects in Scotland, but there are what is known as category A, so that means there's emergency signage that will be needed for our other factory in Kent, which is delivering that on our behalf. So we're still keeping going on a small basis, but our clients have been great and said, yeah, okay, we will, when you start up, you know, these will be the first orders to deliver. And we also do cutting out specialist lighting for offshore, so we've spoken to them. Again, they're not manufacturing either. We had some NDA big contracts, which again put in hold. So luckily, we've been doing a lot of work on forward planning and contracts, so it's not just so much, you know, an order comes in and we're not expecting it. We've got some major contracts that we've been working on the last 6 months. So if we can get through this and reopen, we've got a starting point, but we're also looking at how we pivot the business in light of this, and what will society need more than anything. You know, sort of we'll go back to the manufacturing project that we were working on last year, get, you know, sort of new impetus into that. But it is very much a getting people back, looking at our training that we're going to have to do, because if people have been off work for a few months and they're using big machines, we need to do refreshers. There might be some people who decide not to come back, so we might lose some skills. So we're all about planning and planning for success. One of the things that I remember most from being very young in business was the Coca-Cola and Pepsi story, and that was Coca-Cola continued to invest during the recession in the 1920s. They invested in advertising, they invested in development, they invested in their product lines, and they came out really successful, and Pepsi dropped. Pepsi were the leading brand. Coca-Cola has stayed the leading brand since then. So I've kind of put that in place for us, and looked at what we can do and where we should be and what we're going to have to do as a business to succeed. And if we can get out of this, hopefully be even bigger, stronger and better. So that's our plan, but it's a time for any business, but I think we've got to look at the positives, make sure we apply for the grants that are out there, business support from banking, network, and see who can support us with that. We are, you know, sort of supported by enterprise because we're in a managed account. So any bit of support we can get, we've got a really amazing advisory board. We've got sort of the most senior person in Scotland who's a female on that, but Maureen McGinn, who was ex-chair of Lottery Scotland. We've got a great board who, you know, sort of are advising, and we're using that. So it's not stepping back and leaving people alone, it's bringing them in and saying, where's the help exactly, as I've been saying on this. So yeah, it's a lot of work. I would say that I'm possibly, when I wasn't good last week, it wasn't great, but I should be working harder now than I was before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yvonne, what would you say is your advice to businesses at the moment?
I just think what Michelle said there was just incredible, and that whole forward thinking, and it's about that planning, and I think it's a bit crisis management, isn't it? Until the crisis management for a time, but also then Michelle and Juna both said it's about forward planning for coming out of it, that we will come out of it at some point and being ready to run when that happens. And I do agree with you. I do think a lot of businesses will be set up in the back of this. People want to take their own destiny into their own hands for the future, rather than being dependent on an employer sometimes. And it'll come out of necessity as well, because that's when entrepreneurship generally is sparked, when it's out of necessity, isn't it? Or some sort of life event, and this is a horrific life event. So just that whole forward planning and trying to think what's next, what innovations are going to come out in the back of this as well. Business innovations as well will be important. But apart from that, I think Michelle covered it brilliantly with what she's planning.
Yes, exactly. June, have you heard of any positive stories, or have you been speaking to businesses as well, just giving the same advice?
Yeah, this You know, the fact that we've had to work from home, an awful lot of people have had to adapt and you know, and think about where their business is going. But if I actually go back, taking the positives out of this period of time, it's given business leaders who are normally extremely busy and can be ensconced in, you know, every day-to-day running of their business. This has actually given people time to sort of stop, reflect on, you know, what has worked, what changes that they would like to see, and the forward planning. So I think a period of reflection and forward planning, it's given people space, headspace, to actually sort of think about that and prepare for coming out of, obviously, you know, when we see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, we're all in it for the long term, and we'll all have survive in some shape or form, but businesses will just look slightly differently to what it was before the coronavirus. And I think, on a positive note, as you've all just reflected on there, that I think it will give people a bit of headspace to work out their next move, where they want to go. Are they in the right job for them? And as Yvonne, you've already said as well, that it's a case of they might actually have to just go and look at new business options because it's their way of getting money and being employed again. So for maybe female entrepreneurship, it will be a good thing, a positive lead in this, that gives the opportunity to set up a business and go forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. And time will tell what happens and what lessons we have learned coming out of this. But yeah, absolutely.
It's always about your team as well, isn't it? I think the whole top tips about setting up a business is actually surrounding yourself with a really good team, the opposite of what you can do. So it's, you're employing people or bringing people to work with the things that you don't like doing, and I think that's really key as well. So
last week I wasn't keeping too well. I had to make a decision very early that if something happened and I had a really bad time and ended up quite ill, that somebody else could step in. And it was great. I looked around my team and thought, I've got a great choice. It wasn't a, oh no, what would happen if I wasn't here? It was like, everything will be fine. And I was able to say to one of my guys, here you go, I'll leave you to it. I could step back and take the time I needed to get myself better, knowing that I didn't have to worry about it. So it all comes down to surrounding yourself by great people. And I must admit, I'm incredibly lucky that we have got a fantastic team.
going forward for you though, Michelle, because I know how hard you work, and I know everyone works very hard, but you work long hours. Now that you've identified that, that could be your work-life balance going forward, that you can actually put some responsibility to somebody else, the key member you've mentioned.
That was my biggest learning, thinking about coming on, you know, when I was feeling best over the weekend. And sort of my biggest learning the last few weeks is, you know, sort of to let other people, you know, I don't have to be the leader all the time, other people. So, you know, definitely that'll be, I think, out of all of this, that's what I'll take away, let other people lead. You know, if you've got a good team, it doesn't always have to be you.
I think we'll all take something away from 3 weeks, or not 3 weeks, it's only week 3 or 3 months of isolation. So I think it's also, you have too much time to think, which can be a good thing and also a bad thing, but it gives you the opportunity to put things in place. So that's a positive thing. So I'm trying to always find the positives in everything so far that's actually happened. So I'd like to thank you all for taking part today, and we'll keep in touch.
The invitation, really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi folks, well it's nice to be with you for the first virtual Business Women Scotland Roadshow. Wouldn't it be great if we could thrive through this pandemic and the uncertainty that it's throwing at us? Well, my name is Yvonne Webb. I'm a certified business coach, and I've got some thoughts for you on how we might just do that. Now, business coaching is a kind of odd term. I prefer to think of myself as a people builder. I love working with people and seeing them grow. And in my experience, there's a couple of things that tend to hold us back. One is skill set, and the other is mindset. So skill set, the practicalities of what we actually do, and then mindset, the stuff that gets in our head and that trips us up and perhaps holds us back. And those are the two areas of support that I give to business owners. So hopefully I'll share some thoughts with you today that might just stimulate some grey matter and maybe give you some thoughts as to how to navigate the next 3 months or so. First of all, I'd like to start by just taking you through a couple of guiding principles really that we use at Action Coach. Now, for those of you that have seen me present before, you might be familiar with this, but there's no harm in repeating it. So please have a look through it and take from it what you will. So this is what we call the line of choice. If you look at the blue line in the middle of the chart here, we all have a choice in life. It's a philosophy of how we choose to conduct ourselves through our life. And below the line, we see behaviours such as blame, excuses, and denial. And we've all been there at some point in time, but we all know people who operate below the line quite a lot of the time. So they blame other people, or they make other excuses for their performance or failure to perform, or they pretend that there's actually not an issue at all. And people who operate below the line, this is what we'd call victim mentality. So, people who don't see it as their problem at all, it's always somebody else's problem. And if you flip it and look above the line, then there we've got ownership, accountability, and responsibility. So this is where we as people want to conduct ourselves. And sometimes we'll fall below the line, but let's challenge ourselves to how we can operate above the line. And that's where we take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for our actions. So instead of blaming somebody else or pretending you didn't know about it, you just own up and say, yep, that was me. And above the line here, we would call it victor mentality, so the people who are winning. And if you can challenge yourself to be above the line, it just doesn't have help, particularly in this current situation. So catch yourself doing things right, catch yourself operating above the line, and it won't have help. And as we go through, I've only got, I think, 3 slides. As we go through these slides, then take a pen and paper, take some notes down, and hopefully we'll stimulate some thinking. But yeah, I'm going to challenge you to try and think of yourself as being above the line as we go through it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about a thing called comfort zone. Some of you will be familiar with it already. Comfort zone is where we would naturally reside. It's when, we're sailing through life and nothing is troubling us. And before coronavirus was even a thing, I would talk about comfort zone. And when we're in our comfort zone, we're not growing as people. And when you grow as a person, then that's where the learning comes. And it might be hard to grow as a person, but when the learning comes and you grow into a more competent or more productive person, then from a business perspective, it really helps with both the practicalities of skill set stuff and also with mindset. When you actually push outside your comfort zone and achieve something that you didn't think was possible, then it does a lot for us. It gives ourselves the opportunity to pat ourselves on the back, really. So comfort zone is where we all reside, and I guess the challenge is to move into what we'd call growth zone. Oops, sorry, one too far there. So growth zone is where we push the boundaries of what would normally be comfortable for us all. Now, I'm sure that, like you, in the past 2 or 3 weeks, I know I have pushed through my own comfort zone. A lot of us will have, whether it's going on webinars or Zoom calls, or the techie stuff of working from home, or the juggling of working from home and homeschooling if you've got kids. If you've got other responsibilities, there's just a whole new landscape now that we're having to break through and find new ways. And while it doesn't feel comfortable all the time, the good news is that it shouldn't feel comfortable all the time. For us to grow as individuals, we have to push through and do things that are uncomfortable. And when we get to the other end, the comfort zone grows into the growth zone, and that's where we start to deliver differently and start to realize more of our potential, really. So I just wanted to kind of land those two with you, just to start off our thought process for what the next 15 minutes or so. But I'll go through it fairly quickly. If there's anything you want to come back to me on, pick up the phone. I'm easily accessible and more than happy to help anyone if you've got any queries. So just give me a shout. So we're going to talk about staying above the line, and the first thing we're going to talk about is personal care. So how are we going to get through the next 90 days in the best shape? Now, personal care for me are things like, exercise, diet, meditation, sleep, hydration. Now, if you were to take each of those 5 titles, so diet, score yourself out of 10. How well are you doing? If 0 was rubbish and 10 was best you could probably be, what would your score be out of 10? Go through them all. Exercise, diet, meditation. Now, let me just stop on that one. Meditation, that's not all about, mindfulness. I know that's a big thing at the moment, and it really works for a lot of people. That's great. But even just allowing yourself the opportunity to switch your brain over to a daydreaming state. And that could be, going to lie in your bed for 10 minutes just to let your mind wander. The ability to switch your mind over, to allow it to switch off for a little while. And that doesn't always mean, mind-numbing TV. It just means really taking yourself to a quiet space or whatever works for you. And if it is meditation, then fantastic. If it's mindfulness, fantastic. But making sure you've got some time for you, just to allow yourself some downtime to switch away from everything that's going on. So how well are you doing there? Sleep, how well are you doing with sleep? And hydration, it's easy to forget, isn't it? But I think most of us have got one of these bottles now, just to try and keep us topped up through the day. Looking after ourselves is the first thing we need to do here. It's like on the planes where they talk about putting on your own oxygen mask first before you help other people. So, folks, how well are you taking care of yourself and taking time out to make sure you're okay? So the second thing I wanted to mention was positive communication. So on this, I'm thinking positive activity. What positive activity are you doing? What positive interactions are you having? One of the things I talk about is Jim Rohn, who, from a business perspective, has written a load of good stuff. One of the best things I like to refer to is that he talks about as being the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. Who are the mood hoovers in your life, and how do you dial them down a little bit and dial up the people who actually make you feel good and actually want you to do well and want you to be the best you can be. And positive thinking. Now, that's quite hard just to switch on positive thinking, isn't it? But I tell you, if you do some positive activity and some positive interactions, the positive thinking should follow for most of us. Are you setting goals? Have you got goals set to get through the next 90 days? Do you know what you're aiming for? If you've got a team, are you being a leader? Are you, they need to see that you're leading. You almost need to over communicate to the team so they know that you're on it and you are comfortable and you know what you're doing and you have a positive outlook. So positive communications, what are you giving out and what are you allowing yourself to receive from other people? Now, changing your business model, it might be that you need to break your business model at the moment for you to survive through the next 90 days. Now, it might be a 1% change, you might have to do something very small, but most of us are having to change the way we work and having to change how we come across or our business model in order to get through the next little while. So, for example, I've seen restaurants who can no longer trade, who are now doing family-sized takeaways, just to change their business model in order to keep them going where they can. I've seen a florist start to deliver fruit and veg to customers because they've got access to that and they have the staff and they can. So, what can you do to change your business model? This could be a massive opportunity. Things are going to change at the end of this, so this could be a really big opportunity if you think now, if you brainstorm about your business now. So does it need to be broken? Does it need to be amended? Have a think and go through it and think what could be at the other side. So virtual is the new normal. Here we are, we're all in some way or form working from home. We've all got access to the internet. You know, the Zoom meetings galore. We're all pretty accepting of dogs and cats and people walking in on the back of us, whereas a month ago that wouldn't have been the case. Teams are adapting to working from home. This is just how it's going to be. It's not just for the short term. So if you don't know how to do something, ask for help. I know for me, I just got an IT guy on retainer because I know that I'm going to need a hand because I'm not the most technically able in the world. So, you know, I've taken the step to get support where I know I'll need it moving forward. If you've got a team, are you doing team huddles? Are you doing top and tail in the day with a 10-minute, hi, how you doing? What's your plans for today? And then at the end of the day, how did you get on with your plans? Did you achieve what you set out to? Help me understand the problems. I think at least once, if not twice a day. I know people are doing a lunchtime one as well. And it doesn't have to be a big long meeting. It can just be a quick check-in. And I think on that, while, you know, group huddles are great, it's really important to have that one-to-one time with your team members. So make sure you pick up the phone or a virtual call in whatever form suits you and have that one-to-one time, because people just might need that individual support at the moment that they might not always get in a group setting. And also, you know, what your reporting structure's looking like, your financial reporting structures, or your reporting structures on actually tasks that have been carried out that day. Have you revamped those, and what are those looking like now? So cash flow management, never a better time to get good with numbers. So sometimes people say to me, oh, Yvonne, I'm not very good with the numbers. Well, get good with the numbers, just, you know, confront it and do it. So if you've not got a cash flow forecast, you know, if there's two things coming out of this that I would say you have to do: get a cash flow forecast. If you don't know how to do it, Google it, pick up the phone to me, I'll give you a hand. It doesn't have to be difficult. I found when I did mine, for example, it just gives you that sense of calm because you know what the numbers look like. And that's taken into account all the, you know, everyone will be different, but clearly there's a lot of support at the moment from the government. So whether you're a company director, okay, maybe not so if you're getting paid by dividends, but if you're getting paid by PAYE, there's options. For the self-employed, there's options. There's loans available. There's grants available. Again, you know, I don't know the ins and outs. I'm not a financial expert, but I do know people who, and I do see within Business Women Scotland, there'll be people who are experts in those fields. But certainly I've got people I can contact. If you needed a hand, just shout and I'll help as I can from the financial side of things by connecting you with experts in the area. Because, you know, I'm not an expert in that area at all. But think about it, cutting costs. Have you cut costs where you can? Have you looked to extend credit? I think it's really important as well that you keep your important suppliers at the moment, because you will need them at some point in the future. So keeping the lines of communication open and you know, that flow of communication open with them is important. Postpone what you can. You know, I've mentioned extend credit both personally and from a business perspective. You know, sometimes in Scotland there's a thing about, you know, not liking to accept help or not liking to accept grants or loans. You know, I think that's got to go out the window because this is unprecedented. So, you know, make sure you keep yourself afloat by managing your cash flow well. And then from a marketing perspective, your marketing just has to change. It has to. The market's changed, so you must change with it. Your message has to be different. I guess for a lot of us, the message has to be a lot more compassionate, perhaps, than before. But what I would say on marketing is you should have a fair idea of what marketing works for your business. And if you don't, you need to get an idea on what works for your business. Because if marketing is generating a return on investment for your business, then it should be something that continues and that you don't drop. By the same token, if you're doing stuff and you don't need to be doing stuff, then drop it. If it's not bringing a return into your business. So moving on, sales with compassion. Yeah, still sell. You know, I think it's difficult for a lot of people to sell in the current climate, but I guess sell with compassion, change your tone, make sure your customer's number one, and you sell with empathy. It's the time for kind of serious customer focus, I guess. And in these times, relationships matter. So just, you know, do the right thing by people. Certainly that's my view, my approach anyway. And in times where, you know, people can't afford to pay what they were paying, I would never normally be an advocate of reducing prices. But at this time, when we're all in it together, then let's be kind to each other. And if you need to take a knock on margin, to keep that business or keep the customer, then my view is that's the right thing to do. Because if you can help somebody and just take a bit of a cut on margin, or in some cases do it for free, you know, pay it going forwards. If you're going to be kind to someone now, then you can feel it coming back to you at some point in the future. So, you know, don't be stuck with exactly what your margin model or mix is at the moment. From a customer service perspective, I think I mentioned there, you know, relationships are key. It's really important to keep as many of your existing clients as you can. So it's time to go above and beyond. It's time to build loyalty. It's time to be remembered by your actions, because people will remember that in this time. And, you know, when this is all said and done and over, then, you know, it'll be you they come back to because of the excellent customer service you're giving them. So build loyalty, and there's a thing called CNEs, which is critical non-essentials. What can you do just to go over and above to make people think that you're doing really well and you really care for them? Because I'm sure you do care for your customers, so make sure you're showing it. And then for those of you with a team, so, you know, get the most from your people, keep as many of them as you can. There's you know, a lot of things out there to help. Furlough is, you know, a really generous scheme. I think most people think from the government of 80%. You know, they can't do anything when they're on furlough, but they can do online training as long as it's voluntarily. That's my understanding from my HR colleagues. So you can't ask anyone to do anything. But there's things that if they were interested, they might want to dip into, should they want to, and it has to be on their terms and a voluntary basis. A lot of people will be fearful at the moment. So as a leader, it's up to you to show the way and to lead from the front and to over communicate what your plan is, what you're going to do, and reassure them. Building a strong mindset is important as well. So, you know, our brains love repetition. They love to know what's coming next. So, you know, build a new daily routine if you haven't already. So things I've heard which are great are things like having separate parts of the house. So people are not going into the living rooms until their working day is done, and actually they go there because they know that's time to switch off. They only go to the kitchen if, you know, they want to eat. And they actually separate parts of the house and go into them at different stages to help their brains switch on and off. Now, not all of us will have the luxury to do that, but even if you're in a smaller place or a flat or whatever, just think about different places you can go to sit to try and help your mindset. Maybe it's, you know, one chair in the corner that you only use for recreation time and reading, for example. Even just a little thing like that can help. And then, look, you know, I'm a big fan of learning and growing. There's a saying that, you know, if you grow the people, you grow the business. So what a better time to learn, grow, do different things, you know, watch the TED Talks that you've promised yourself that you're going to watch, read the book that you said you were going to read, take time for each day for learning. If it's 10 minutes, it doesn't matter. That really adds up, and it's, you know, over an hour by the end of the week. So take the time to do that. And I think celebrating small wins as well. So being kind to each other. If you spot somebody doing something good, then tell them, even if you wouldn't have done before, because it's those small nudges that our brains are going to enjoy and like and respond well to, and that doesn't half help keep us positive, which is what we need to be at the moment, I think. So I mentioned before a plan for 90 days. Look, you know, China looks like it's coming out the other end of this, and they're ahead of us. If you don't have a plan for 90 days, please do one. Do one for your business, do one thinking about what your key goals are and what you want to get through. Again, I've got templates and stuff. If you want a hand, give us a shout, or we can do another session where as a group we go through it together. But plan for 90 days. So not only does it help you keep track and keep focused on the key things that you need to do to keep your business moving forward, but what it also does is settles your mind. I promise you, I haven't done it myself. It just makes you feel better of, right, okay, I've got a plan. I know what I'm going to do. You're locked onto your tasks, and actually it'll move you forward. Otherwise, time just passes. You know, how often do we say, oh, it's January again, or it's the end of the week again, or I can't believe it's Monday again? Time just flips by. So if you don't have a plan and, you know, stuff to check off, then you're not going to achieve as much as you could in the next 90 days. And coaching, you know, I'll tell you at the end as well, but I'm offering some free coaching through Business Women Scotland. No obligation, no cost. It's just the right thing to do. If I can help you in any way, either by doing group coaching with your team, or with a number of you, or one-to-one coaching, then I will. I think what I'd say from having a coach myself is what it does do is keep me certainly really accountable, because as a coach I wouldn't be very congruent if I didn't have one myself. So it keeps me accountable and it keeps me moving forward. So, you know, no obligation, the offer's there if you want it to. And I think the last point I wanted to bring up was, it is a good time to invest if you're in that situation. You know, the stock market's taken a bit of a tumble, though there has been some signs of recovery. But if you have, you know, got money that you can invest, maybe now's a good time to look at it. In time, over the next few weeks, unfortunately, not everyone will make it through this. There will be companies for sale. I guess that in turn means there'll be customers for sale. But, you know, this is an economic cycle, and while we've taken a dip really quickly, we will come out the other end of it. So, you know, it's planning now for what you could do that's going to put you in the best position moving forward. So there we go. That's a kind of whistle-stop tour. I really hope that has given you some thoughts and stimulated some thinking. The message is plan, don't panic, and get a cash flow forecast done. If you've not got one of those, please do it. And a 90-day plan done. Again, if you've not got it done, please do it. Offer stands. I can support you in any way I will, just because it's the right thing to do. You know, no costs, no money, just get in touch and give me a wee shout, and I'll give you a hand. So my email's there and my phone number. But yeah, stay safe, keep well, and I look forward to seeing you in person at some future point.
Okay, well, as you said, I'm Tricia Halliday. I'm director at Martin Aitken and Company. That's a firm of chartered accountants and business advisors based in Glasgow. I joined Martin Aitken in 2010, and we've grown quite significantly over the last 10 years through acquisitions, mergers, and some lateral hires. So I'm now one of 6 directors, and we've got just over 100 staff. My portfolio of clients is very varied across a wide sector. We deal with firms in construction, manufacturing, healthcare, property, charities, and high net worth individuals. My speciality is tax. I advise clients, mostly owner-managed businesses and family businesses. I advise in both personal and corporate tax. Part of my role is to ensure that clients are aware of all the allowances and reliefs that they are entitled to, and that they maximise these reliefs. So I get involved in things like capital allowances claims, research and development, EIS, SEIS, remuneration planning, benefits in kind, deal with some inheritance tax, and I also help out my colleagues in corporate finance when they're looking to get deals over the line, and that might be where the clients are looking for some business investment to grow and expand their business. We do some due diligence when there's acquisitions and mergers, or if there's maybe a management buyout. So a very varied role that I have, and I absolutely love what I do. I mean, I love advising clients in their business. I enjoy meeting people. It's a really good job.
It sounds like a great job, and it sounds like you'll never have any time to sleep by the sounds of it, with all the different things you actually are working on. So how are things at the moment with you, with the impact of the coronavirus and the lockdown? This is a question that you must have been asked so many times over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I have, and to be honest, I miss the office. I like the chat around the office. I like the interaction with my fellow directors, the staff, meeting clients. You know, that I really do miss. But obviously you can do a lot of these things now by things like Zoom and Microsoft meetings. But I still don't think you can ever beat a face-to-face meeting with people. I really enjoy that part of my job. I like listening to clients telling me about their business. I like being able to help businesses. Clients right now are looking for reassurance, and that's part of my role to reassure them that we are here, we are more than happy to help with their business. You know, they can contact me anytime, day or night, because I will help them. If there's something I can do, then I'll do it. There's difficulties running a business from home, as I have now found out myself. I've got 2 boys and there's homeschooling to deal with there. So it doesn't come easy, but my husband's a great support. He's dealing with the boys while I'm in the office dealing with the clients, and it works for us. And I think it's important for clients to hear that too. We're not all perfect. We're all going to have good days and bad days. And when I'm having a bad day, when I listen to somebody that's having a good day, that makes me feel much better. So I would say to anybody, if you're having a bad day, pick up the phone or do a Zoom or a Microsoft Team meeting with an advisor, a friend, anybody, just to pick yourself up, because I do believe that we will all have these down days. And when you're having a down day, it all doesn't seem to be the way you want it to be. And I've said to clients over the past 2 weeks, I wish I could just wake up and this will all have been a bad dream. Unfortunately, it's not. So if we work together, we'll definitely get through it together.
I think it's really key what you've said there, like building a community of people, and it's really key to actually pick up the phone or go for a walk or just speak to somebody else, because we're all in it together. And it's a phrase that's been used so often over the last 3 weeks. But genuinely, I think, as they say, when you share a problem or you share an issue, you normally find a solution or you find an answer. So I think, as you've quite rightly said, it's the right thing to do. Just pick up a phone and speak to someone else. And then you feel weights are slightly off your shoulders. You might not have the solution to the coronavirus, but at least you might have a wee bit more peace in your head. So no doubt you have a busy period over the last couple of weeks with lots of clients concerned about the future of their businesses due to lockdown measures that have been in place. What has been the main concerns and what have you been advising your clients to do?
You're right. I mean, clients have got concerns just now about the impact lockdown will have on their business. But the first thing, and I said it earlier, it's reassurance that they're looking for, reassurance to know that there's somebody there that can help them. The government over the last 2 weeks have introduced a lot of measures for businesses and for individuals. And part of the advice that I've been given to clients is to do with a lot of these measures. The frustrating thing for me has been the sort of detailed guidance that's now coming through, but initially there wasn't a lot of detailed guidance around that. So I was speaking to clients just to reassure them that, you know, I was looking at it, and as soon as I had further information, then I would let them have that information. But I was certain when the measures were announced that they were going to help businesses, and making sure that clients knew that these measures were there to help their business. That was giving them the reassurance that they were looking for. Most clients have been asking me about the job retention scheme. That's been at the forefront of their mind, and, you know, wondering when the cash from that would come through, how they manage when they don't have cash to pay out wages. You know, just talking through those scenarios and helping them to find a solution to that. Some of my other clients, self-employed clients, when they introduced the self-employed support scheme, they were asking how much will they get and when will they get it. So just looking at, you know, their own personal information, calculating what they can expect to get, and giving them the realisation that this money, it's not going to come through anytime soon. I actually had a client on a couple of weeks ago and asked me, could I get the money for Friday? Now, that was a big challenge because I knew that money wasn't coming through on Friday, and I could tell from speaking that he was having a bad day. So rather than say, you're not getting the money, I was then asking him, well, what other ways can we find this money and make it available to you by Friday? And you're right, just talking about it helped him to see there's other ways that you can do this. So that, you know, there have been challenges. The measures that have been introduced, they will help businesses, but unfortunately, the job retention scheme and the self-employed scheme, that's not coming through anytime soon. I do know that the business grants that are available for small businesses, they now have started coming through. I had a couple of clients who've actually now received the £10,000 grant. So that's good news for businesses. That's a positive, and it's making them feel better. They can then see there's some money coming in, and they can use that to help their cash flow, perhaps pay some of the wages over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean, challenges ahead, but again, working together, and we'll all get through them.
Is the small business loan, is that been via the banks, were helpful, or is it Scottish Government in general, because they've got a small business scheme that's available to businesses at the moment as well? Just
that's right.
variety with people asking me where they should go, or is there one better than the other, who they should actually approach for advice?
Well, the small business grants, they're coming from your local authority. So it's the local authority you should go on to. There's a link to the local authorities, and you can apply for the grant through this link. It's quite easy to apply for, and there's not a lot of information needed. You need, I think, it's a couple of bank statements, and that's a grant, so that's not repayable. That's yours, and it's yours to keep. The funding that's available from banks, that's more loans that will have to be repaid. But, you know, those are government supported loans. But what we were finding from banks, certainly early on, banks were applying the same lending criteria as they've always applied. And sometimes that can be quite difficult for businesses. There are a few hurdles that you need to go over. And right now, people can't face another hurdle. You know, so we've got to be there to support them. Find out what information is required, make sure that they have all of the information at their fingertips so that the banks can make the decisions on these loans and give the businesses the cash they need to keep trading through what will be a very difficult period over the next couple of weeks, until things like the government schemes are fully operational and the money from the job retention scheme is coming through and the self-employed support package. Once that money's flowing through, it will make things a wee bit easier, but it's just making sure that businesses are using everything that's available to them, you know, every tool that they've got, make sure they consider it and using it. And part of my role is to make sure that they're aware of what is available to them.
Yeah, I think there was some confusion with the loan schemes and different things in banks because there's just been so much publicity about it, but not really enough background information. I think it's now becoming available to people, so it's a bit more clarity with it.
Well, one of the things that did come out with banks early on was personal guarantees. And, you know, that's one area in business where, you know, I would generally advise a client, if you can avoid a personal guarantee, don't give a personal guarantee. And that was coming through from the banks. You know, they were all looking for personal guarantees. So that was another issue that clients had, you know, when they were on the phone saying the bank's looking for a personal guarantee for funding. You know, so again, banks have now relaxed that area of it, I believe. So it's really just making sure, you know, speaking to your existing lender or speaking to your advisors, your accountant, and find out what lenders are out there and how can you access the funds.
Yeah, that's great advice. So turning away from the current situation for the moment, what advice would you give to the women on the webinar today who are running and building businesses in Scotland?
Okay, my advice to any business would be get the best people you can afford. I mean, staff is your biggest asset. I mean, I believe in that. You know, for our business, staff is our biggest asset, and advisors, that's a business investment. If you've got good people behind you, people with drive and enthusiasm for your business the way you have, then you can't go wrong. And you should never be afraid to approach your advisor. You know, having a good advisor on board, you can't beat that. I mean, being able to pick up the phone, speak to somebody, get the advice you need to grow your business, that's the most important thing for you. Write business plans, set objectives and KPIs, and look to measure those. Make sure you're getting a return for your investment. you know, we all need help to do things. We do use the people round about you to get that help. You know, preparing monthly management accounts or quarterly management accounts, that's a great start. One thing that can be very frustrating for all accountants is when business owners don't look at the management information that they've got and they don't speak to anybody about it, because usually if there are warning signs, they're there and you can pick up issues early and you can address those, and it saves further down the line. You know, you could be a year down the line and then somebody says, but if I had known, we could have done X, Y, and Z. You know, and that comes across a lot for me, and that's one thing that I hate saying to a client: had I known, we could have done something differently. You know, let's talk about it. Let's find out what it is. What's your goal? What are you looking to do? And then we'll structure your business so that you can do that. The other thing that I always find is don't think you can do it all yourself. You know, working long hours. You know, I've done that. I've got the t-shirt. I absolutely know.
I have to,
yeah. I mean, everybody will have busy periods. My busiest period is December and January. I know that I'm going to be working 7 days a week for those 2 months. Other months of the year, I'm not going to be working those long hours because I use the support of the staff and my fellow directors, the people round about me, and they all care about the business and our clients as much as I do, and I know that they're going to provide the service that I provide. So it's making sure you use all of these people round about you. And growing a business, it's, you know, business is a marathon, it's not a sprint. You know, enjoy what you're doing. I mean, I'm fortunate. I absolutely love what I do. I don't feel this is a job. I feel it's a pleasure.
Well, that's great. I mean, there's very few people out there I think can actually say that, Tricia. We work with a lot of early scale-up businesses that one of the things that they always talk about is the fact that when can they actually employ somebody? It's taking the risk. Can they afford to take on another salary? And it's very difficult to give that advice to people, isn't it? Because either they know the scalability and they know how much money they're bringing in at the moment. So it's always a big gamble for them to actually get to that point to bring on more staff.
And to find out when's the right point to do that, you know, that is a difficult decision to make. But, you know, what I always say to clients is, look at what you're doing, and if there's something that you would like to do but can't do because you're maybe bogged down with the admin side of it, well, the admin side isn't going to make you money. So get somebody to do the admin side whilst you're promoting your business, because the extra money that you're bringing in will help pay for the admin person. You know, and I think earlier on we talked about, you know, sharing problems and burdens that businesses bring. You know, that's what you have to do. You know, you have to share what your goals and your objectives are so that there are people that can help you get there.
Great. And finally, why did you take this decision to get involved with Business Women Scotland?
Well, I think that what you and the other members are doing is great. I mean, I think, you know, you're building up a network of like-minded people, and those people are sharing their experiences and their stories, and that's a network that people will have with them for a long time. They can tap in and out to a variety of different business women, and for me, finding out that other women face the same challenges in business can also help. Again, it's part of that reassurance. Yes. And I can only see this as a positive move for me. I'm really excited by it, and if there's anybody that I can help, I'm more than happy to share my stories, talk for Scotland any day of the week.
Well, we're delighted to have you on board. As I said earlier before we started recording this, I think with Business Women Scotland, it's great to build the community of business women, but it's also really important to have relatable role models involved. And as I said to you, I think a lot of people are intimidated going to accountants, and you're very personable and very approachable. So I think you would make it easier for somebody to come along and discuss finances, because not everyone feels comfortable with that. So we're delighted to have you on board. So
yeah, and I'm delighted to be on board.
thank you very much for your time today, and I look forward to working with you.
Hello, I hope everyone's doing well and had a nice weekend, or as good as it could be expected, staying inside. So my name's Tala, and I've been asked to participate in this very innovative virtual roadshow. And what I'm going to be talking to you about today is marketing during these very, very strange times that we're in, and how you can make the most of marketing during this time, but also how you can make sure that you're following guidelines and staying sensitive, and what you can really do to help elevate your business. So I do have a couple of slides, so I'm just going to open those up. So hopefully you should now be able to see my screen. I'm just going to pop myself over there. Okay, so a bit of a brief introduction to me just before we get started with the content. So I have got about 10 plus years experience in marketing, and that's across both agencies and in-house roles, working in marketing roles within companies. I began my career with a bit of a focus on social media and digital, but I now kind of work across the marketing channel mix, although social media is still a very key area for me. And I've delivered marketing work for, but not limited to some of these companies listed here. So a real kind of mix of industries, from UEFA to L'Oreal to Strathclyde University, etc. So I've got a lot of experience working across marketing, a wide range of different businesses, and I hope to be able to bring some of that experience to you guys today to help you navigate through these times. So in my current role, I'm director of channel planning at a small marketing agency called Alt, and we're based in Glasgow, just up at Charing Cross. I've popped a link to the website in there, and I will make sure I put my contact details at the end. But that was just a kind of a brief bit about me. Okay, so this is the crux of what I'm going to be talking to you about today, is some real kind of practical advice and tips on how you can approach your marketing during this time. So I just wanted to say, first of all, that, contrary to what you might initially think, it is actually quite a good time to be thinking about marketing. It might feel a little bit like if you're not able to do business in the way that you normally would do, or if you've got a physical premises and that's actually been closed, it might feel like it's a really bad time for marketing, but I think otherwise. So if you're a business who's remained open and you're still able to offer your products and services at this time in a relatively normal way, the key opportunity is that there are more people online and purchasing online than there ever have been before. People are at home, they've got a lot more free time, they're a lot more bored, less out and about, so they're definitely online a lot more. And secondly as well, I think it's important to note that marketing can really help you to cover some of the shortfall from however you would normally do business, if you were still outside of COVID. So whether that's inbound inquiries or footfall, if you have a physical location, focusing on marketing at this time can kind of help you, although I'm not going to claim that it can help you generate the same revenue that it would normally. It will certainly help you claw back some of that shortfall. If you are closed, or if you're unable to operate your business as usual, then it's really about remaining front of mind with your audience, so that you'll be able to hit the ground running when we come out the other side of this, and we will come out the other side of this, I promise. And it's also about setting up your marketing approach for success post-COVID. So thinking about beyond this situation, what can you be doing with your marketing now to set you up in the best stead for after this is over. So in my role at the moment, I work with quite a wide range of different clients and businesses. I've got some from e-commerce to events to business to business organizations, but there's some definite common questions that I've been asked quite a lot over the last few weeks, which I've popped here. So one is, there's an increased market for my product or service at the moment. How do I capitalize on that? Also, I don't have anything to say about COVID as a business, but I don't want to ignore it. So what should I be doing? Will my normal marketing and advertising strategies work the same way that they normally would during this time? And lastly, how can I avoid appearing to be insensitive by weighing in on the topic or continuing to sell my products and services at this time. So what I'm going to kind of try and do for you today is cover off those different questions by going through a few kind of key guidelines and tips that I would recommend for marketing over the next couple of months, regardless of what sector or type of business that you are. So if we apply these guidelines well, you'll be in a very strong position when we come out the other side to move forward with your marketing. You may have even, if you're lucky, have seen a positive impact in revenue or inquiries or sales or social media followers or whatever that might be during this period. And we're going to go through each of these in turn. So number one is to make the most out of your owned organic marketing channels. Number two is to think outside the box with the content that you're creating. And number three is to stay on the radar of your audience. So we're going to look at each of these things in turn. So number one, making the most of your own channels. So what this really means is focusing your marketing efforts on social media, email marketing, your website, and creating content. You don't necessarily need to do all of those things. That's just the list of things. I wouldn't necessarily recommend trying a completely new channel at this time, but whatever format out of those works best for you. That's really what I mean by organic owned channels. The reason for that is that these are channels that you can control and that you can enact quickly and easily, as opposed to maybe something like PR where you're relying on someone else to get back to you, and you're relying on coverage to kind of start rolling in. These are things that you can do yourself nice and quickly. Also, these channels are low cost. It's really just kind of resource only is generally the only cost. So it's a really good way to watch your marketing spend at this time, which is really something that's quite important for a lot of businesses. And you may also be under resourced. So these are generally quite easy to manage or quite easy to learn how to manage. And then lastly, just a kind of an interesting note, we have kind of seen across a lot of the clients that I work with that paid social and online advertising, which is kind of important for a lot of smaller to medium-sized businesses with a product focus, just isn't proving as effective as it usually would. The click-through rates are lower, the cost per click is a lot higher, unless you're a brand who is fortunate enough to be selling a product that is directly related. So if you sell toilet roll, or if you sell kind of something that gets delivered directly to your door, for example. So just as a kind of a note for any of you that would normally be engaging in things like Facebook advertising, they have actually advised on a recent webinar that we attended with them that if you are running paid campaigns, you should really be either moving to a more brand focused campaign as opposed to product focused, or you should be just reserving your spend for post COVID-19. So that's just something to bear in mind for those who are either currently running advertising online or are thinking about it. Okay, so looking at each of these channels in turn, then these are just a couple of quick ideas that we have found when applied for our clients and also other businesses that I know have been working quite well during this period. So the top one I would say is make sure that you maintain the normal frequency that you post on with social media at the very least. If you can post more, great, but certainly don't be posting less. And the reason for that is to safeguard your reach for the future. So without going too much in depth into it, all social media networks work on an algorithm basis, and if you are varying the amount of that you're posting too much, so for example if you're going from posting once a day to suddenly once a month, then the social network that you're on will start to deprioritize your posts. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that even if you're not trading as normal or not selling your products or services exactly as you normally would, keep posting content at the normal frequency so that you're making sure that you're still going to be able to reach as many people as normal when you come out the other side. Save your key posts for the weekend. So unlike normal life, because people are so are stuck inside during the weekends now, it's actually a really good time to be posting key content. By that I mean things like offers or competitions or giveaways, because it's when people have the most time. They're not going to be working from home during that time and they're not really doing a lot. So I would definitely advise that. If it's relevant to you, consider doing things like short-term offers on social media, giveaways or competitions as a way to kind of boost visibility with your existing audience, but also maybe to reach some new audiences. And lastly, make sure at this time. This is always true, but particularly at the moment, be responsive to comments and messages. And the reason for that is, this is a really good time to build relationships with some new customers. It's a time when people are feeling a lot more social and friendly than normal because they're not able to see people in person, so they're much more willing to engage with you. But also people are less patient than they normally would be in getting a response if they've asked you a question. So make sure that you're building that into your daily routine for social media. Email marketing. I personally feel that email marketing is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, opportunity for marketing during this time. It's extremely low cost, it's easy to do, and it's a way to contact people who are your existing customers or are already affiliated with your business. So a couple of things here. Don't focus on emailing everyone on your database your policy for COVID-19 unless it is relevant to how you deliver your product or service. So for example, if your business relies on customer service, you might want to email people to tell them that you're on reduced customer service hours or something like that. But nobody needs another one of these stay safe emails. You know, we got them all about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and it's kind of been done, so don't worry about that. Also, much like with social media, consider running offers via email. Your existing database are a lot more likely to convert and to buy your products during this time than trying to reach completely new customers. So try and make the most of that and encourage that repeat purchase. Also consider driving new email newsletter subscribers, which could either be done through something like a promotional offer, a giveaway, or some exclusive content that you're going to be offering via email. Use this opportunity as well to A/B test on email marketing. It's one of the best ways to do it because nobody will receive the same email twice. So think about, can you test 2 different subject lines and send one to one half of your database and one to the other? Can you be looking at different layouts for your emails and trying to improve your open rates and what's going to work best for you at this time? And also, can you think about creative ways in email marketing to drive traffic back to your website within the email, to cause an uplift in traffic, and if you sell something on your website, then sales as well. And lastly, if you're service-based and you are still operating, then why not send an email to let your customers know that? So for example, if if you're an agency like myself, then you might want to send an email out just to say, we're working from home, but we're still fully operational, we're available for projects, we'd love to have a chat to you, blah, blah, blah. And then website. So a really practical one, but make sure that if there is relevant information about your business and COVID-19, make sure it's easily visible and available on your website. So some people have had kind of pop-ups at the top of their website, for example, or some people have updated the content on their homepage. So just have a think about what the best way to do that is for you, or if you even need to do that at all for your business. Next, trial using different landing pages. So this is really not technically for your website, but it's more for the other channels that might be driving to your website. So can you try maybe sending some people to your homepage and some people to your products page or your services page, just to see what works best and what encourages more interaction on your website. Also consider running offers actually on the website. So things like pop-up windows or discount codes can work well if you are the type of business that sells something on your website. If you're not and you're service-based, is there any way that you can offer advanced bookings with preferential rates? Can you offer vouchers or any kind of incentives? Have a think about, is there any way to make these things work for you so that you can keep some kind of income coming in at this time? And then lastly, if offers or vouchers aren't relevant for you at all and you're just not that kind of business, that's fine. Then my next recommendation for you would then to be, think about creating some blog content or website content that's relevant to your sector to start boosting your search engine visibility, which is more of a long-term strategy. But this is as good a time to start as any. If you're not able to focus your marketing efforts in other areas, then why not use this time to create some content to start building visibility of your website across the web. Okay, and then this is just an example that I like. This is actually an email from a company called Tatley, who basically sell temporary tattoos for kids and adults on their website. So what they've done here is they've created an email that it does promote free shipping, so it is kind of tying back to selling their own products, but crucially they've come up with lots of different creative ways here to drive traffic to their own website through this idea of your stay-at-home activity kit. So every single, in the yellow panel there, every single one of those links goes back to their own website. So it's useful content that people are going to enjoy, but it also still serves the company a purpose, because they are driving traffic back to their own website. So that's this is a good example that I quite liked. Okay, so number 2, think outside the box with your content. So this is true anyway, but particularly relevant now. And there's a couple of key things that I would mention here, and then I'm going to show you some examples. So one, try not to copy what everyone else in your sector is doing or saying. I'm seeing a lot of, and I'm sure you guys are too, I'm seeing a lot of brands or companies in a particular sector all doing the same thing or doing the same post, and it does get quite tiring as the audience. So how can you stand out or do something a little bit different to what other people are doing? And also this is a really key one for this point about being sensitive, and people are feeling a bit hesitant to talk about things in case they appear insensitive. I think the key thing here is just adapt your approach and the tone of the content that you're posting with the general mood, not just in your sector, but more widely across the country. So what is the general mood of the media coverage at that time? What are people on your own social media networks saying? This will help you kind of make sure that you're being relevant to the tone and the mood of what people are, where people are at, and also being appropriate. So for example, you'll notice, and it's actually key in a couple of the examples that I'm going to show you, that a week or 2 weeks ago it was all very much about, like, strength, we will get through this. It wasn't really very humorous at all. It was very much a kind of a like keep calm and carry on, but now actually it's become a bit more funny, a bit more light-hearted. There's a lot of jokes, a lot of memes, that kind of thing. So that's a really good example of how the tone has changed around this topic, even in a really short period of time. Keep it light, so no politics or anything, please. No expressions of support or non-support for the government or anything that they're doing at this time. It just doesn't really look super professional. So I would recommend that you don't do that unless you're a business that's massively relevant for, and I'll leave you to be the judge of that. And then lastly as well, remember that your audience are people first. So this is a really good time to think beyond only creating content about your products or services and to talk about things that are a bit wider. So a couple of examples here. This one's from Innocent. There is a reason why they always get used as an example, so I'm going to use it anyway. So the post on the left is their first response to COVID-19 on March the 20th, and it is very much that we're going to carry on as the key message. Whereas then something that they posted this weekend, a couple of weeks later, was much more. It's a lot funnier, and it's basically just 100 things you can do inside this weekend. I'll let you read through them at your own pace if you look through Innocent on Instagram, because they are really good. So it's a completely different tone in night and day. They've really kind of moved with the time and stuck to, now that people are a bit more up for having a laugh, that's what they've decided to go with. One thing that I think is really important to note is that they only mention their products or their company once in the first post, and it's only in the context of, telling people that they're going to be looking after their staff at this time. So that's a really important point to note that I liked about this one. This is a company called Ceros or Cheros, I don't actually know how you say it, but they're a kind of an online software company, and this is an email that they've sent out, which is basically showing the capability of their software by creating these, like, your Netflix movie generator or your Disney movie generator interactive kind of quizzes. So it's fun, it's a little bit different. The copy that's in the email is very much about, while you're staying at home, what are some things that we can do to keep you entertained. So it's not really overtly talking about their business in any way, but it is making sure that they're engaging with the people who subscribe to their email newsletter by showing them something relevant. And then this is my favorite one. Unfortunately, it's not real. So I need to say as a caveat, this is a student's concept design for Netflix. It's not real advertising, but it is really good nonetheless. So basically what this is this, excuse my French, it's you should stay the fuck at home. And what it is they've put this out of home concept where spoilers for different Netflix shows would be posted around the city so that people wouldn't want to go outside because they wouldn't want to see the spoilers. So it's a really fun kind of creative way of thinking outside the box and not massively relevant to Netflix. So again, it just kind of shows how you can, you know, use this opportunity to step out of your business's comfort zone a little bit. And then number 3 is possibly the most important one, and it's stay on the radar. So this is really important for all businesses, whether you are still able to sell your products or services at this time or not. So even if you're not able to operate as normal or you can't offer anything at this time to customers, you know, remember that whoever it is that you work with, whether they're consumers or it's businesses, they're still going to be there at the end of all of this. So it's important that you keep talking to them and you stay front of mind and stay on their radar. Try not to put your marketing on hold, even though it's really tempting when there's so many other things to do. Particularly pay attention to keeping channels like social media where the gap in time, if you were to stop things, would be a lot more visible. Try and focus on keeping things like that more up to date. And then lastly, you know, well, second to last, think about how you can offer something that's either useful, interesting, or entertaining to your audience, even if it's not necessarily directly related to the business, and play to your strengths. So for example, if your team are customer facing, or you work in a kind of a service-based industry where your team are quite important, how can you make the most of them at this time to resonate with your audience and make the most of your people? So a couple of examples of that. I've gone for local businesses this time, so you can see it's not just big brands that can be capitalizing on this. So this is a coffee shop in Glasgow, and what they've done here is they've interviewed their whole team and asked them what their Netflix recommendations are this time. This business is completely closed. They're not able to sell. They're not able to do their normal business. But what they are doing is they're making the most out of one of their best attributes, which is their staff. This means that they can really stay front of mind with their regular customers and perhaps even attract some new audiences, because I saw in the comments that a few people were tagging their friends with the recommendations, and these are the sorts of things that can really over time build a whole new audience for you. And then a couple of other examples that are 2 examples of the same thing really, but from 2 very different businesses. So one is Rainbow Room International, which is a set of hairdressing salons in Glasgow, and the other is Pret a Manger. And what they're both doing here is they're encouraging customers to do something that they would normally offer. Which is quite brave and quite interesting, because you might think, oh, well, if I teach people how to do hair, then they're never going to come and get their hair done. But that's not really the case. If anything, it's just going to make them think about your business more positively, because you're offering them something that they wouldn't normally be able to do themselves. So the way that this has been executed in the 2 different examples. So for Rainbow Room, they've had their stylist do a series of different hair tutorials, which I think is really nice, because if you think about what a hairdresser does, they're there to make their clients feel good about themselves, and actually doing your own hair during this time might be something that would really elevate your mood. So I think it's really nice that they've been able to do what they would normally do, but without offering the service that they would normally offer. And then Pret on the other side of the scale, you know, people have been asking them to share recipes for certain things that they would buy every day on the way to work, and what they've done is in response they've said that they will release a Pret recipe book, and they've been kind of showing people how to make their iconic porridge and the different wraps and sandwiches that they make and things, so that people will be able to make Pret at home, which is great. And then lastly, as well, beyond those kind of 3 tips and just in general, no matter what kind of business you are, plan for the future. So while it might feel right now like this situation is endless, it will end. So are there future planning, marketing things that you can be doing to make some plans for the future, even if the other examples that I've shared don't necessarily apply to you? So one example would be to create a marketing strategy that you can action post-COVID. Another one would be to revisit your marketing materials. So do these need to be updated, and is there a way that you can update them at this time? What campaigns and marketing messages will work for you post-COVID? Can you begin to prepare some of those right now? Test and learn so that you can apply the learnings later, and also think about making updates to your website content. These are just some kind of initial ideas about what you might be able to do at this point. And then lastly, if you have any questions at all, please feel to get in touch. I know that was a little bit of a whistle-stop tour. There's so much to say on this topic, but I hope it's been useful to you. And if there's any specific questions or anything you have, feel free to drop me an email or contact me on LinkedIn. And just thanks so much for everyone's time.
Hello, Businesswomen Scotland. I hope you ladies are as well as can be. So for those of you I've yet to meet, my name is Kirsty Ann Ray. I'm an award-winning business strategist, a life and a business coach, and I'm hugely passionate about working with female business owners and showing you how you can have it all. And by have it all, I mean having a life that you love, feeling confident, empowered, and very much happy in yourself, and also having a business that thrives, grows, and succeeds, regardless of the difficult situations you're in. So just to give you a little bit of background, I've spent the last 18 years of my life in various guises, growing, supporting, and helping businesses. And this includes helping the people who run those businesses, and also helping and looking at the strategies and processes within those businesses. Now, I know some of you will have experienced the recession, for those of you who were in business at that point in time, and that certainly meant a lot of us had to adapt. But I think I can safely say, for everyone watching this now, I don't think we've ever had an experience like this in our lifetimes with our businesses. So today, what I want to share with you ladies are how you can thrive in this time, how you can thrive personally as a human being, as a woman, and how you can also thrive as a business owner. I know right now, a lot of us are feeling scared. A lot of us are feeling uncertain, and we're not really sure what it is we're meant to necessarily be doing when we can't show up for our business the way we normally do. So again, in today's training, what I want to cover with all of you is how you can experience that feeling of being empowered and confident and your best self right now, even with everything that's going on, and what you can also do for your future self and your future business. Because the reality is everything you do today is going to have an impact and effect on your future life and your future business. So whether that's going to be a positive effect or a negative effect is entirely up to you. And my wish and intention for all of you watching is that it's very much a positive effect for your life and your business. So, what do you do when you're facing difficult times or struggles? Often in business, we have times when things don't always go smoothly. Things are not all peachy and rosy. And hey, speaking as someone who's been in the world of business for quite some time, ladies, first and foremost, that's normal. It's okay to have wobbles. It's okay to have days when you think, what the hell is it I'm actually doing? So first and foremost, please, please, please forgive yourself and give yourself that space. You're human after all, and it's okay to feel those emotions. But what you want to do is make sure that you have the tools to be your best self. So if you want to start by grabbing a pen and a paper, and if you want to, you can watch the whole video just now and then come back to this later. I'm going to be taking you through step by step what you can do right here, right now, as well as to future-proof your life and your business. So the first thing you want to think about is right now in this current situation, which at the moment it's uncertain. We're not sure what's going to be happening next within the UK. But start off by writing down, what do you want to be, do, and have? right now. So thinking about, as a person, who do you want to be? As in, for you, that best version of yourself right here, right now, who is that? How are you showing up? How do you feel? How do you speak? How do you think? And write it all down. Next, you want to think about, what do you want to have at this point in time? And ladies, please bear in mind, we have our whole lives, not just our businesses. So what do you want to have? Do you want to have better health? Do you want to have improved mental health? Maybe you've decided you're at a point in your life where you want to start embracing spirituality or religion or a deeper understanding and connection to you. Maybe you want to be able to learn to do the splits or sit comfortably in pigeon pose. But what is it you want to have right now? And again, write it down. I understand there's certain limitations we have. However, there's still so much you can do at this point in time. And lastly, what do you want to do right now? So thinking just now, whether it's today or over the next week, what do you want to do? Because you'll have time when you can focus on your business. And in that case, what do you want to do? And you'll have time when you can focus on yourself and potentially also your family. But the first thing is to get clear on what you want to be, do, and have, and write it all down. And this is basically a roadmap. So a lot of the women I work with, when they first come to me, they have a lack of clarity. They know they're not where they want to be, but they're not necessarily sure, well, where is it they want to go? What do they want to be, do, and have? So the first thing is to unpack all of that and write down your answers, ladies, because it lets you get really, really clear on that. So the second thing is to then write down, okay, with you as that person who does all those things, has all those things, and is all those things, what exactly is that like? And this is about you getting clear on that sensory experience. So what does it look like, feel like, sound like, in some cases smell like, and even taste like, if that's also including health and well-being and nutrition goals? It's giving you a crystal clear picture. What exactly is that like right now? In addition, I want you to think about, what are the beliefs and values you hold to be true? And what I mean by that is, for example, do you believe as that woman that you're the most confident woman in the world? Do you believe that you're able to be calm and collected? Do you believe that you can be successful even in a crisis? What is it you believe? And as well as that, what is it you value? What do you hold dear in that space as that woman? So I remember going back to 2012, and my business landlords at the time gave me some really not very great news. They had decided they were going to actually take on a new franchise, and they were going to be removing half of my business premises to give to that new franchise. And they were also going to double my rent, which meant that actually my amazing team of staff, I had a whole load of practitioners that worked alongside me, they were going to have to go. And I remember coming away from that crisis situation initially just feeling really distraught and so confused. And the first thing I did is I went and I cried. I cried and cried and cried. And I'm sharing this, ladies, because it's okay to feel and it's okay to process those feelings. And then what I did is exactly what you're doing now. I thought to myself, okay, well, what do I want to be, do, and have right here, right now? And at that point in time, the reality was I had created a role for myself where I didn't love the work anymore. So actually, I did want changes. And as well, I wanted to be the woman who, regardless of what was going on, she made sure her team were okay first and foremost. And guess what? I was that woman. I showed up, I made sure all of my team were okay. And as well as that, I showed up with strength because, and this is the next thing we're going to do, I allowed myself to experience what that would be like. So you've written down what you want to be, do, and have. You've written down what that experience is going to be like, you know, what beliefs and values you hold, how you are that person. Now what you want to do is take a moment to be her. So with your beautiful mind, it does not differentiate between reality and fiction, which means you can create your very own superhero persona, most confident persona, even happiest self right here, right now. And to do this, you simply want to read through what you've just written and then take a moment to close your eyes and experience exactly what that's like. So when you are that version of yourself, what does it feel like? What is a typical day? What are the things you're doing and thinking and saying? And ladies, this is something which I would highly recommend you include this as part of your daily habits to create this as a behavior of visualizing and experiencing that best self. So you can take a moment and close your eyes and get into that space. And as you enjoy being that woman, being that very best version of yourself that you want to be, do, and have right now, think about what you'd call her. And it doesn't need to be a different name from yourself, but it could be that's your most empowered self. That's your happiest self. Maybe it's your best self. But think about a name that resonates. And even after this video, you can go away and take some more time stepping into that best self. But this gives you the opportunity to ask a really powerful question. And that question is, when I am my, insert that descriptive word, self, what would I do right now? What would I feel right now? So for example, let's say that was your most empowered self. You could ask yourself the question, okay, when I'm my most empowered self, what would I do in this situation? And let yourself experience and know the answer. And the more you make this a habit, the more this allows you to always be thinking, behaving, and coming from that place of being your best self. So the next thing for you guys to do is to take this forward into the future. So you focused on what are the best things and your best self right now, but also you can do the whole of the same exercise going through these steps 12 months from now. So again, simply thinking, what do you want to be, do, and have in 12 months from now? And write that all down. And include all aspects of your life. The next step is, what does that look like, feel like, sound like, experience like, etc. And write down your values and beliefs. So again, you're taking yourself forward to that place in your life and business. I know at the moment there's still a little bit of uncertainty. I promise you though, this is such a powerful exercise for you. Next, allow yourself to step into that woman 12 months from now. See through her eyes, experience those thoughts and emotions, and gauge exactly what that's like. And again, give her a name. What is she? Is she your 2021 self, your happiest self, your most loved self? And again, this allows you to ask that question. Okay, when I am my most loved self, for example, or my 2021 self, how do I behave and think in this situation? And the last thing you can all do is, with that woman you want to be, do, and have right now, and with that woman who you want to be, do, and have in 2021, you can do both of those right now. So it means in this moment, in this time, life feels so much better, and you're also being and moving towards that woman who you're going to be a year from now, which allows you to create those new habits, create those new thought and neural pathways for your own success and happiness. And it also beautifully allows you to change your state like that. So if you're having a bit of a wobble, let yourself experience any emotions and then step into that woman. Because the reality is, ladies, this is you all along anyway. You're just allowing yourself to fast track and experience and enjoy that now. So this is going to give you some really great tools for you to thrive very much as a person. And you can use this for all areas of your life and business. What I also want to leave you with are a couple of business specific strategies for you right now that are going to help you not only just now with everything that's going on, but also moving forward. So the first thing is to think about planning your activity the day before. So regardless of what you're doing with your business, whether business is currently on hold or whether business is the new normal, you want to write down and plan every day what is it you're doing the following day to move your business forward. And for some of you ladies, that might be something as simple as you're showing up on social media and you're communicating with your customers. For others, it might mean that actually you're adding new strings to the bow and growing your business. But the first and most important step I would say to every business owner is plan your activities the day before so you know what you're doing. The second thing for all of you as business owners right now is to look at what can you do with your business in the online space to bring you in an income. And the reason I'm saying that is currently we're not sure how long we're going to be working from home, etc. So what can you do right now? Are there one-to-one services you could offer over Zoom or video conferencing? Are there courses or workshops or programs that again you can now create and deliver in the online space? Are there physical or digital products that you can deliver to people, whether that's delivery via email for the digital products or delivery via the many delivery options just now to that customer's door? So look at what you can do, and this can include thinking outside the box, ladies, to give you an income in the online space. And the beauty of this is that gives you numbers. Let's try that again. That gives you multiple numbers of products and assets that you can have, that you can offer your customers or even new customers again and again because they're in the online space. Again, if any of you need a little hand with that, please feel free to reach out to me. We can have a mini 20-minute conversation and help you brainstorm and get some ideas. But whatever you can do right now to take aspects of your business online, please look at how you can do it. So step number 3 for your business, regardless of whether you're taking aspects of your business online or you're currently not going to be doing any of that, you want to be showing up. More than ever, consumers are in the online space just now. They're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. They are spending more time online than ever before. So if you are not showing up in the online space, your customers aren't seeing you. Your future customers are not seeing you, and that can lead to lowered brand awareness. It can also lead to an increase in their awareness of your competitors. So what can you do just now to be showing up in the online space? Is there advice you can share with your customers or potential customers on social media? Are there videos you can do basically to allow them to get to know you and the business better? Are there emails you can send out to your database just to keep them aware of what's happening with you guys and have those touch points to reach in? Could you even just simply have a dedicated Q&A where you're going live at a certain time so your customers can check in and just ask what's going on? Whatever it is you want to do, I urge you hugely, make sure you're showing up right now where your customers are showing up, because it means when business returns to normal and the new normal, your customers are going to be ready to be chapping at your door and buy your products and services because you're at the forefront of their mind. Rather than if you decide for the next however long to be nowhere to be seen, in which case your customers, they may have chosen to go elsewhere because they're not aware of you anymore because you haven't been showing up. And that's what I mean by making sure, keep your current customers aware, whether that's text messages, emails, etc., but also continue to show up, because this is a time and opportunity for even more people to find out about you, to find out about your brand, and to find out about your business and start to grow that relationship. You know, when you look at sales and marketing basics, it can take anywhere up to 12 touches for someone to build that know, like, and trust to choose to purchase from you. So use this as an opportunity to build those new relationships and continue to grow those existing relationships. The next step is number 4, which is ask for help. And I say this because often we feel we have to do everything ourselves. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure many of you watching are guilty of it, where you know you're the best at everything, clearly, in your business, but actually the reality is you can ask for help. So whether that's asking for help to move your business online, whether that's asking for help from your customers to support you during this time, even if it's asking for help from your family to give you a little bit of extra space to do the things and have that clear headspace. But it's okay to ask for help. I know for myself, I've been spending more time with my coach than I normally would, and that's to keep me on the right path. I've also signed up for a couple of new courses because they're going to allow me to move my business forward. When I look at my clients, some of my clients have chosen to up their coaching. Some of my clients have chosen to learn additional skills. And some of my clients are very much using this time to focus on them, to have more time with meditation, to have more time with actually planning their goals and their future. Because for some of you, this will have been a wake-up call that what you've been doing up till now hasn't been serving you. And often when life slows down, like it has for many of us just now, there's that awareness that you do want your future to be different, and that's great. You can plan for that just now, and you can reach out and ask for and get the help you may want and need. And the very last thing, ladies, I want to share with you is be you. So I know the first things we covered were about being the best version of you, but it's all about being you. More so than ever before, you want to do things your way, speak things your way, share things your way. And I say this now because more than ever, people's eyes are very much open to what's going on in the world. So you want to show up very much as yourself, not trying to be anyone else, very much being you. So I hope you ladies have enjoyed this talk. It's a pity we aren't here in person, but thank you guys for sharing this space with me. For any of you who have any questions, or as I said earlier, want to brainstorm, feel free to reach out to me. But get yourself that pen and paper, get yourself your planner or your journal or your notebook, and go through that exercise so you can thrive very much right here, right now, and continue to grow and thrive in your life and your business even after this. So I wish you all the best. Make the most of every situation, and please remember, your life is a collection of moments, so choose to fill them with happiness. Thanks, ladies, and I look forward to connecting soon.